Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the council meeting this morning, July 20th, 2021.
Iris De Carvalho.
Here.
Dave Light.
Here.
Soldner.
Here.
Bagwell.
Here.
Garza.
Here.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our prayer will be with Mr. Pastor Darrell Peterson.
Thank you very much. Let's pray. Father, we come to you with great request, Lord God, for our heart to speak. And Father, for God, we just thank you for the privilege that, Father, we can start this meeting by coming before you, asking you for help. And Father, we thank you for everything that's being accomplished within the city. And Father, we lift up each and every member of the city, Father God, that works within the city, that has duties to do. And Father, we lift up each and every council member. And Father, they know what they're doing. They're believing you, Father God, for wisdom and guidance. And Father, we just lift up the mayor to you. We just thank you, Father, for each and every person. We thank you for our manager, Lord God. And we just thank you, Father God, for the departments, every department within this city. And Father, we lift them up and pray for them, Father. And Father, the heart's desire is that as people of the city, the community, that would be not so critical, but Father, would learn how to come to you and to present the problems that they have with the city, to pray for the city, to help you, Father God, to open our eyes to see the mistakes we make and the direction we should go. And I thank you for that, for the meeting today. And we praise you, Father, in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Item 4, proclamations.
Okay, proclamations. Jim, we'll start with you, sir. And that's a kind of thing today, historic day today. I see on TV before I came over here, the Blue Horizon took off, and isn't that kind of neat that we're going to do a proclamation when they had something historical happening today? So that's cool. Alrighty. Proclamation. Whereas the U.S. Mercury manned space program played an integral part in the story of the national history, helping humankind understand more about the Earth and universe we inhabit. And whereas on July 21st, 1961, Mercury Redstone 4, Liberty Bell 7 became the second U.S. manned space flight, and whereas the Liberty Bell 7 mission proved to the world the U.S. has the ability to overcome challenges and set the stage for future manned space flights and missions. And whereas the authentic spacecraft from the mission Liberty 7 resides here in Hutchinson, Kansas, the Cosmosphere International Science Education Center, and the Space Museum. And whereas the Cosmosphere helps to increase Hutchinson's economic prosperity through its tourism. And whereas in July 2021, the Liberty Bell 7 mission will celebrate its 60th anniversary, honored across the globe and locally with numerous anniversary events. Now, therefore, I, Steve Garza, Mayor of the City of Hutchinson, Kansas, do by proclaim July 21st, 2021 as Liberty Bell 7th Day.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Yes. Would you like to say some words, sir? Okay.
Yeah, real quick. It's an exciting day. If you happen to watch the media on your phone or tablet or computer, Blue Origin launched today. 60 years ago, we were at the start of the space race, and I feel like we're right back where we were 60 years ago at the beginning of a new era. And so what better place to come and celebrate that and learn about the past, present, and future than the Cosmosphere. And we appreciate the city of Hutch and all the support, appreciate the community and everyone who comes out and celebrates with us. I appreciate the city in this proclamation, and we will continue to honor the history of space exploration. Thank you.
Okay, the next proclamation is Americans with Disability Act. Dave, you want to come up here, please, sir? Everybody, all right? Okay. Whereas the American Disability Act, ADA, was passed on July 26, 1990, to essential the civil rights of citizens and disability. And whereas the city of Hutchinson, Kansas, affirms the principles of equal and inclusive of persons with disability, as set forth for the state of Kansas and embodied in the ADA, the laws of the state of Kansas, ordinance of the city of Hutchinson, and Human Resource Commission. And whereas numerous organizations in the city of Hutchinson, Kansas, work with continuous in communities to bring the promise of hope and freedom that is envisioned by the passage of the ADA. And whereas the purpose of Prairie Independent Living Resource Center, PILR, is to achieve the full inclusion and acceptance of people with disabilities through the education and advocacy. And whereas on July 23rd, 2021 celebrates the 31st anniversary of Americans with Disability Act in the city of Hutchinson, Kansas. Now, therefore, I, Steve Garza, Mayor of the city of Hutchinson, Kansas, do hereby proclaim July 23rd, 2021 as American Disability Act Awareness Day. Okay. You guys want to say something? Sure. Okay.
I'll do really quick before Anthony comes up here. One thing that I've learned from Anthony just in my short time as the Human Relations Officer for the City of Hutchinson is a phrase that he brings up often. No decision about us without us. And that's the motto of the activists and the folks that help and work every day with people with disabilities in our community. So very excited to celebrate this. We have an event happening this Friday that I'm sure Anthony will tell you about.
Thank you. First off, thank you to the city for this proclamation. So 31 years ago, and think about this, 31 years ago, people with disabilities got their civil rights. For most of mankind's history, we have been systematically excluded, executed, or left behind. 31 years ago, we got our civil rights. As in those 31 years, one of the first civil rights laws that are looked at to change, and it's currently happening, is the ADA. This is something we continually fight for. The city as a whole supports us in this, and you can see it in our city. We have a pretty inclusive city, but we can always do more. You know, there's always more we can do to make people with disabilities feel included in our community, be it from, jobs, housing, down to just general sidewalks. Curb cuts are a major thing that we fight quite often. And just that little curb cut makes people included in our community. So this Friday from 5:30 to 7:30 at Chester I. Lewis Park, we will have speakers, some people playing steel drums just to celebrate the passage of the ADA. And I encourage and invite every one of you to come out and join us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 5, oral communications from the audience.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no one. Item 6, consent agenda.
I would move to approve the consent agenda and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Iris De Carvalho.
Yes.
Dave Line.
Yes.
Soldner.
Yes.
Bagwell.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Item 7A, a public hearing to consider the submittal of a Cdbg grant application for the rehabilitation of 25 East First Avenue. I need a motion to open the public hearing. please.
Move to open the public hearing?
Second.
Tyros de Carvalho,
Yes.
Dayline,
Yes.
Soldner.
Yes.
Bagwell,
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Ryan Vietlook, Director of Planning and Development with the City of Hutchinson. Before you this morning is an exciting project that we have been working with the new owners of the Hoke Building, as well as SCED, who is our grant kind of coordinator and administrator when it comes to CDBG programs. So this is for the rehabilitation of the Hoke Building, which is located at 25 East Avenue, East First Avenue. This would be for some structural repairs, installation of a fire sprinkler system, replacement of electrical, plumbing, and HVAC. It is a $245,000 grant application. The total project cost is almost $400,000, right at $397,000. The property owners are going to be providing the $152,000 match. So there is nothing that the city itself actually will be providing, aside from some technical assistance and some staffing with processing of payments and maintaining paperwork and those type of things, as we are the applicant for this grant. Would be an elimination of blight in the downtown commercial district, as well as employment of 7 new full-time positions, 4 of those being low to medium income folks. And that meets one of the kind of federal requirements of the CDBG program. So for the public hearing, there was notice that was posted in the Hutchinson News on July 14th. Y'all have already opened the public hearing. And so this is an opportunity for the public to provide feedback on the proposed project, as well as if there are any other project proposals that would be introduced. And then after that, you close the public hearing, and then I will continue my presentation. But I will step aside and allow Mark Davenport to come up and talk a little bit more about what his plans are for the building. Mark?
Hi, my name is Mark Davenport. We purchased the Hoke building in January, and our plan is to do a full renovation, putting a boutique hotel on the floors 2 through 4. That's not what we're talking about directly here. What we're talking about directly here is the first floor and the renovation of the first floor, taking the floor back down to the grade. It was built up 3 feet to counter flooding back in the day. And putting in there the lobby entrance for the hotel, and then 2 commercial spaces to the north side and the south side of the building. We started investing, my partner Phoebe and I started investing in Hutchinson just over a year ago by a couple of days when we bought Plaza Towers. 6 months after that, in January, we purchased Leon Place, which is opposite Plaza Towers. And our most recent acquisition is the Hoke Hotel. So we're very excited about this project. See a huge need for the hotel, a huge opportunity for more great quality commercial space on the ground floor. And we see this being part of the picture for an increasingly vibrant and revitalized downtown. Lots of other people doing wonderful things. We want to be part of that too. And we see this space as being really, really important for that.
Mark, I want to tell you, I met you a couple months ago and we talked. I appreciate you coming to Hutch and investing in Hutchinson, Kansas. I hope we can have a good relationship from here on out with the city of Hutch. Just want to thank you for that and for the project.
You're welcome. I feel similarly.
Yeah, this is super cool.
Yes.
Very, very, very exciting.
Mark, I know these projects take on a life of their own, and I echo the mayor's comments and totally embrace your vision for Hutchinson and the Hoke Building, and certainly the other 2 hotel properties. It's just a terrific, it's been a long time coming, and I think you've got a wonderful plan here. give us some idea of what your 5-year plan may be as far as the total renovation of the hotel, this being phase 1 of multiple phases? If you could perhaps outline for us what we might expect in 5 years.
We're expected to be done with the complete renovation in a year, maybe 14, 15 months. So 5 years, I mean,
Okay.
the thing is well on its feet, I think, in 5 years' time. We're pretty aggressive with how we develop. We like to move pretty quick. When we see opportunity, we like to go for it. So, yeah, we've started demolition already in the Hope building. And yeah, our plan is to have the whole project wrapped up in a year, 14, 15 months. And then maybe 6 months to a year to stabilize the property in terms of reputation and getting our occupancy rates high. I don't anticipate there being a significant issue with that. There's nothing else in downtown. There's not a huge amount of, I don't understand that there's any hotel space that will be directly comparable to what we're offering in the city of Hutch, with a local boutique feel that really celebrates the uniqueness of the Hoke building. So that takes us to 2.5 years out. 5 years,
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's the rough time scale we're looking at.
I'm really excited about the project and just wanted to echo what everybody else said. And it's really nice to know that we're going to get more hotel beds, because I know that with the atrium discussion and the sports arena discussion, I know that we're going to be short beds. So knowing that, and there was also discussion about, should we have a hotel on Main Street? Should we have a hotel over here at this corridor? So I find it to be a really good middle ground so that we are getting some more beds that we desperately need in the city. And it's going to be on Main Street to help with the revitalization of Main Street. So it's very, very exciting news, and thank you for your investments in Hutchinson.
Well, since we have you up here, do you want to give us a short update on the Leon and Plaza Towers?
Sure, yeah. Both are going really well. Plaza Towers is kind of jumped ahead quite dramatically. Apartments are up. When we purchased the building from the prior owner, there were 40 of the 63 apartments rented. Now I think we're up to about 55.
Oh, wow. That's
So we
great.
renovate and we place tenants as we go. It's kind of a nuanced approach. We don't renovate every apartment. We look at to see where the necessary improvements are, and we meet demand that way. With the rest of Plaza Towers being kind of an amazing ecosystem unto itself with the commercial spaces and everything that building is made up of. We have placed 6 tenants in office suites on the second floor. That was previously 100% vacant, so we renovated each of those spaces and have placed tenants in those spaces. The restaurant is up and running again. Alice's is in the restaurant on the ground floor, so it's super exciting to see the traffic, the people. You guys all have a new problem with parking, which I'm happy to celebrate is a now a situation which everyone will have to deal with. And then the event space, the Plaza Towers event space, the Baker Ballroom and the Davenport Room, we started taking bookings a couple of months ago, and demand is picking up for those spaces too, which is great. Leon Apartments, our occupancy is up about 50% since we purchased it. When we purchased it 6 months ago, I think about 17 of the 33 apartments were occupied. We've increased that by 50%. The commercial spaces remain to be renovated. Those commercial spaces need some love. So we'll get to that, planning to renovate the 2 kind of retail spaces on the ground floor and then put in kind of a co-working office space at the back of Leon Apartments. So that's where we're at.
Oh, fantastic.
Great.
Thank you.
No other questions? Okay.
And I just wanted to say, we've been working with the Davenports. Really, they've come to the city from very early on and have wanted to have a very collaborative relationship with the city. We really do appreciate that. The other thing I would say is that they really do respect the historic character of their buildings that they've purchased. The Hoke building, they're going to be using, or I believe they've applied for state historic tax credits for it. So the intent is really to maintain that historic space and really celebrate it. So, you know, as the department that's over the Landmarks Commission and over our landmarks ordinance, we're really appreciative of a developer who is willing to do that work to really celebrate those buildings. So kudos to the Davenports for that.
Okay, do we go on with the hearing, or, do we vote?
You might ask if
Any,
there's something else.
thank you. Anybody from the audience would like to speak on this, in this hearing? Okay, come on, ma'am, come on up here, please.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Cheryl Thompson, and I'd just like to know where Davenport is out of.
Should I come up to the mic?
Sure.
Please.
I'm presuming the question is where we're based, where we live.
Yes.
We're based out of Kansas City.
If there are no further questions, I will move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Iris Carvalho?
Yes.
Dave
Yes?
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes.
All right. So now this is kind of some housekeeping work. In order for this property to be eligible for the CDBG grant, the city does need to declare that this property is blighted. And so staff has looked at what the Davenports have submitted, what their project is, and staff does believe that this project does have conditions of blight, decay, or environmental deterioration, specifically with roof leakage, exterior masonry decay, missing and broken windows, dated faulty electrical and plumbing, a lack of modern fire protection, faulty HVAC, and significant deterioration throughout, and that this grant would correct those blighted conditions. So we would need a resolution from the city council that would declare the building at 25 East 1st Avenue blighted, and that the mayor would sign that resolution.
Ryan, as a point of process, what happens when the renovation is complete? How does that blight designation get taken off? Is that automatic with the occupancy permit, or?
Yes, that would be correct. Once this project is completed and these conditions that the resolution would state are causing blight have been corrected, that blighted condition would go away.
Okay. And then should anything happen during the renovation process, that it still has that designation?
It certainly could. This really is, I kind of call it nuance. It's one of those kind of weird things in federal law that if you go all the way back to the Urban Renewal Act of the 1950s and 1960s, the original purpose of CDBG was to get rid of blight and deteriorated buildings, and so this determination does need to be made. There's really no other legal stance. This is not the same as the building inspector coming out and saying that a property is dilapidated or something like that. This is just in respect to the state and the federal requirements for CDBG.
Okay. And then one more reminder to people who may have questions: what qualifies for these grant funds?
A lot of different things, but typically what the state's goals are with their CDBG program is to improve commercial downtown districts. So we did have a similar project for commercial rehabilitation, the Stevens building, back in 2018, and that was a similar type of thing. So for the commercial rehabilitation, it typically is going to be located more near downtown areas.
Okay. Thank you so much. I would move to approve the resolution declaring a building blighted with respect to the Kansas Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second?
Iris Carvalho?
Yes.
Dave
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes.
Okay. And now the final motion is we would need a motion to approve the submittal of a grant application to the Kansas Department of Commerce Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program, and also a approval of a resolution certifying the legal authority for the city to apply to this program and authorizing the mayor to sign. So, as I mentioned, the city does not have any there will be no financial impact to the city's budget on this, with the exception of some minor staff time for processing payments and things like that.
Is this a rolling application period through the state? I mean, would you know relatively soon?
Well, once we submit the grant, they have 45 days. And they've been a little backlog, so it might be a little longer.
Okay.
But 45 days is what they say.
Oh, fantastic.
Are these competitive grant applications?
Yes. Yeah, they are competitive.
They are now. They didn't used to be kind of, but they've, oh, you're going to make me go through mine. It's, in the last year, it's really picked up. People have found out about the program. So I know this year, that's why we're going in under job creation versus, but it's still slum and blight. But I mean, a requirement, they've already filled all the slots under just slum and blight. So Mark is doing it under, Mr. Davenport is doing it under the job creation, which is a good program because it's just a requirement of the program. He's saying that he will hire 7 new employees and 4 of them will be low to moderate income people.
Okay.
But that category isn't as competitive because people don't always like to go in under that. But so I mean, he's probably the only application at this time. So he will most likely be funded.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
So the state gets a certain amount of federal pass-through dollars for this program,
Yes.
and it's just a rolling until they're gone.
Till they're gone every year.
Okay.
The application period is from, I think, this opens in January 3rd through December 3rd every year.
And not necessarily each community is limited.
No, you only can have
Anybody else
one
want
grant at
some
a
buildings?
time, but you can have, if you can manage it, 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you for those clarifications.
Yeah, and this is unlike Wichita, Kansas City, the larger communities in the state. We do have to be competitive, compete for our Cdbg funds. We do not get an automatic allocation because we are under that 50,000 population level.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. You just said that this application CDBG is for the downtown area. Is that correct? Is there anything in there for outside business that are inside the community for them?
Not that I am aware of. I believe the state's program is really focused on downtown areas.
Do you know of anything other in the state that would cover outside businesses that are business in the city of Hutchinson?
Outside businesses, I would have to do some research on that.
Okay.
I certainly could get back to you on that, though.
Okay. At this point, we're going to have a motion to close the hearing.
Yeah, I
no,
would move
motion-
to,
Okay.
approve resolution certifying legal authority and authorization to apply for a 2021 Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program for the Kansas Department of Commerce and authorize the mayor to sign the resolution and all appropriate documents to apply for the grant.
Second.
Iris Carvalho,
Yes.
Dave Line.
Yes.
Soldner.
Yes.
Bagwell.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Good luck, Mark. Thank you again.
Very good.
Item 7B, public hearing to consider appeal of the Landmarks Commission decision regarding improvements to property at 225 South Main Street.
Good morning, City Council. Amy Allison, Senior Planner.
A motion to open.
I'm sorry.
I move to open the public hearing.
Trying to.
Second.
Iris Carvalho.
Yes.
Dave Line.
Yes.
Soldner.
Yes.
Bagwell.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes, I do it all the time, Amy. Don't
Linda,
worry
we are
about it.
off our game today. We're off our game.
I had my coffee a little too early.
I didn't want to interrupt. I was like, wait. And then Dave like, okay.
All right, Amy Allison, Senior Planner with the Hutchinson Planning Department. Before you today is a request to appeal the Landmarks decision to make modifications to 225 South Main Street, also known as the Stevens Building. The applicant applied to modify the materials for their loading dock, which is located on the south side of the building, and then also to frame in the existing 7 garage doors and replacing 2 of those with French doors. The owner and applicant was Scott Cooley with Blue Star Investments LLC. The property in question is located within the Downtown Core South National Historic District, which is on the state and federal register. The building was originally built in 1876, but it was later altered in 1900, 1906, and other various states throughout its history. This is a structure that has been added on to, modified significantly throughout its entire life. The structure is a contributing structure to the historic district. Located here is the short description that was included on the historic district's nomination. I'm sorry about that. There at the bottom, I've highlighted, it talks about specifically the loading dock with the shed roof and several garage doors. So it was included as part of the historic structure when the district was nominated, meaning we have to look at it from historic preservation perspective when somebody is wanting to modify or do work on that structure. Here is a photo of the Stevens building. As you can see, that little slanted shed looking thing there on the south side of the building is what we're talking about today. So technically in the original proposal, there were 4 different requests. 2 of those the Landmarks Commission did approve, so they have proceeded forward on those 2 actions. Before you would be the final 2 that they could not approve based off of the Secretary of Interior Standards of Rehabilitation. The first is replacing the existing metal siding with 29 gauge sheet metal siding. Currently, the loading dock is sided on the south and I believe on the west, as well as the roof, with a corrugated metal material. As you can see, it is in an older material and it is needed of repair. This is what the applicant provided us for what they are proposing to replace it with. Underneath the Secretary of Standards, this would be considered a change of unlike material. It doesn't look like the original. So that is the test that the Landmarks Commission had to review this request upon. Therefore, they did deny that request based on the material not matching what is currently there. Yeah, so again, the second request was for framing in the 7 garage doors that are located along the south facade and installing 2 sets of French doors. Those are the 7 doors in question. The applicant proposed framing in and siding over the west 5 doors, and then framing in the east 2 doors and replacing them with French doors. Again, the Landmarks Commission has to consider this modification under the Secretary of Interior Standards. Those garage doors were included as part of the Historic District's nomination. So modifying them significantly, i.e. removing them, would be considered a major change to this structure. Here are the 2 French doors that were proposed to be installed. We did reach out to the Kansas Historic office to see if they had any recommendations, and these are 2 that they provided that have actually occurred within the state of Kansas. As you can see, both of them chose to frame an internal doorway behind the door and keeping the door or replacing it so it still has the same look as the historic structure, but it still operates as a doorway. So the Landmarks Commission determination, they did review this case on May 20th, and they denied the application based off of the interpretation that both changing the material and removing the garage doors would damage or destroy the historic significance of the structure in the district. There are 4 factors that the City Council can consider when reviewing an appeal of a Landmarks Commission's decision. 1 is technical issues, 2, design issues, 3, relationship to the community-wide plan, and 4, economic issues. Staff did provide a full analysis of our review in the staff report. So if you have questions specifically about any of those analysis, please let me know. But generally, from staff's perspective, we did not receive enough information for us to make a determination of either way. So we really had to say there is a feasible option until another option can be proven that it is not. So really quickly, a technical issue. Of course, our proposal was to change the metal siding to a 29 gauge rolled form siding. The alternative was to replace it with a like material, so another corrugated metal siding. As I mentioned, staff felt we didn't receive enough information per the application request. Therefore, we felt that the alternative is still feasible and prudent from a technical perspective. Design, same thing. Community plan, specifically our comprehensive plan and or landmarks action plan that gets approved by this body does not really call for changing or modifying the federal requirements for historic preservation. So we have to look at it from those factors. So again, we saw that the alternative is still feasible and prudent. And then economic issues, like I said, we just needed further documentation for us to make a different determination. For proposal number 2, it goes in the same kind of vein. Again, just needed more documentation. For design issues as well, from the community-wide plan, and for the economic issue. So that kind of concludes my presentation. Like I said, if you have questions about the staff report or the application, please let me know.
Okay. First of all, is there anything so as a governing body, are we able to do something so that he can go on with his plans and not have to do this? That's what we're here
That is
for,
what
right?
this process is
Okay.
an appeal.
And secondly, I think that I know there's been a discussion with the south side of Maine and it wanting more of a boutique feel and not much of a manufacturing feel as we go into the park. And I feel like getting rid of all of those big doors and putting in French doors kind of goes with our strategic plan to create more of a not so manufacturing, more of a boutique style leading into Cary Park.
I guess I'm not familiar with that in the comprehensive plan.
I know it's
Is
been
this
of
a different plan?
discussion.
Okay.
I'm saying it's been of discussion.
Okay.
Especially when they were talking about, I don't know if you remember, but like the bike trail, like the bike lanes going down Main Street. I think, Brian, you've talked about it before with the entry into Cary Park and that area in South Maine, make it more inviting into Cary Park.
Certainly, yeah.
It's been a discussion on the council, right?
Yeah, it's been a discussion, but there's not been any change to our adopted.
Yeah, as our adopted, but it's been, and I think that would be a step in a discussion that we've had, right?
And I think once that modification to a comprehensive plan or an action plan of some type, then we could consider that as part of this.
As part of, okay.
But it really needs to be something that the community has vetted and agrees that this is the way forward, that they want this specific corridor to appear.
Well, I think that we need to be business friendly, and I don't think we need all this red tape on it, so you know my stance on it. I think that the proposed plan is an upgrade to what we already have. So I would suggest that we do whatever we need to do to make sure that it gets done. I would rather see the French doors there than a bunch of garage doors, especially with what the purpose of that building is going to be. And I think that the corrugated looks tacky compared to what he had already proposed to put in.
Amy, I had a question about the way we would frame a motion. Don't we typically have to pick one of the appeal reasons? So let's say we pick economic, because I'm assuming there is a difference in price, and I see the applicants here. Is it really just that staff couldn't make that designation because they didn't have the information on the differences in price, or?
Absolutely. I mean, if we had what I would consider a completed application showing that the price differential, staff could definitely make a determination that The alternative, so what the Landmarks Commission is proposing the applicant do, is not feasible or prudent. We do that regularly when we're talking about houses that need to be demolished just because they're past their lifespan. From an economic perspective, it doesn't make sense to dump a lot of money into a building that really won't recoup that cost. We find that constantly, but we need the documentation to prove that before I, as a professional staff member, will come before you and make that recommendation.
Okay. Well, I'm certainly willing to do, you know, as you say, Sarah, what we need to do to move this project forward. I think that it's going to look phenomenal. I'm curious what.
How can we frame it?
Well, yeah. How do we
Yeah.
frame it in a way that, you know, is fitting with the rules? And the other concern I had is, since this property has been the recipient of large amounts of grant funding, does that harm those funds?
We
or-
did double check into that. Those funds were, as Ryan mentioned earlier, for commercial rehabilitation. So
he wouldn't have to pay those back or anything.
talking to our grant administrator, they said, you know, if you guys approve an appeal on the historic preservation side of things, it shouldn't affect, you know, that grant analysis. What it might do in the future is if he wants to apply for another grant or for historic tax credits, probably will affect his chances at that point, or even future owners.
Okay. Well, that's helpful. I'm really interested in, if you don't mind,
Yes.
sharing like which of these 4 items you feel we need to appeal the Landmarks Commission on, because I'm willing to do the appeal. I just need to know which reason to frame it under.
I guess I don't recall what the 4 issues were.
Technical, design, economic, and what's the other one?
I think community.
Community plan.
I would probably say under economic issues for one. When we had met with the Landmarks Commission, one of the primary sticking points was covering up the garage doors. So to kind of give you a little background on what's happened between now and then, there's a courtyard there on the south, and we put in a 20 by 40 in-ground pool. This basically is going to be our residence. The dock, for all intents and purposes, will never be functional again. In fact, we've put a privacy fence across now to be able to keep people out for safety. And what we found out, kind of through just inadvertent luck, if you will, is that now people can get over our privacy fence by hopping up on the little dock ledge and just stepping around the fence and jumping down inside. We found, you know, vagrants' clothing and things and of that nature. So people are getting inside, even though we've got a huge wall on 3 sides of it. So now it's even made covering those garage doors even more feasible, so there would be a slick surface, something you can't jump up onto, to be able to skirt around our wall we put there for safety. So, and it is locked at all times, you know, to keep kids and others out. So essentially all we're wanting to do is clean up the south facade. If you're driving into Maine from the south and you see the dock, it's been there forever. It's beat up. None of the doors function. The roof leaks. So before we purchased the building, some of the cornices on some of the windows had actually fallen out and fell through the roof. So then you get pigeons, you get mice, you get everything else. So we're in the process of our wanting to build out our residence on the wall just adjacent. So this essentially would be our front porch of our home, so to speak. So we're trying to enclose it, make it look nice, make it look weatherproof, or make it weatherproof to where you get a lot less heat, cold, wind, rodents, pigeons, things of that nature, thus covering up the doors because they're not functional. All of this, now the roof section would not be reversible because it's obviously going to be permanent. But should a future owner want to come back in, we are leaving the roll-up doors behind the structure. So somebody literally could come in and peel off everything we put over it, and your doors are there. So it's completely reversible. It's not like we're trying to destroy the character of the building. We're just trying to clean it up and make it more energy efficient and rodent-proof, if you will, and just clean it up and make it nice. One of the changes we did have, initially we went with framing in French doors, so we could obviously let our dogs out to go down in the courtyard and what have you. We've since decided to keep a little bit of the dock aspect, so we're going to go with roll-up glass doors in those last two. So you'll still have a garage door look to kind of keep in theme with the dock that was there. You just don't need 7 dock doors. At a cost of $3,000 per door, I'm not interested in spending almost $30,000 in replacing garage doors that have no feasible use. So I guess economic could be one of them. The technical issues could be another. The difference being in the material use of the siding roofing. The reason that we would like to go with a roll form steel panel is because they're more rigid. If you've ever had corrugated tin and you take it off, you can literally wave it just like a piece of paper. Roll form steel is rigid. It doesn't flex. It's wind resistant, it's hail resistant, and it has a much longer baked on finish, so we're not painting it every 3 years. The corrugated that you could see in that picture has probably not been painted in probably 15, 18 years, but it's all flaking off, it's rusted, and it doesn't look good. So that's the other probably technical issue as to why we want to use the change of materials, is because it's just better. As times went on, that was the standard 100 years ago when that dock was installed. Obviously, we've advanced well beyond that, so we're not still using, or at least shouldn't be using, knob and tube wiring in buildings anymore. So as things advance, you want to try to upgrade and make better building material decisions as you can. So that's why we're wanting to use a stronger, more rigid material that's going to look nice for a long, long time.
Are you going to maintain the transoms? The windows up above?
We will on the doors that we're planning to replace. Yes, correct.
But not the others on down the line?
No, not down the line. Most of all those are all missing the glass. Most of the framing material is all rotted out.
Okay.
The couple prior owners, the dock was an afterthought, really. It was just there. In fact, when we purchased the building, people told us we should just demolish it because it's more hassle than it's worth. But that being said, you can't just go in and do things like that. You've got to go through the process, and we like it. It gives us extra storage space. It gives us extra, like a covered patio, if you will, in the fall and spring, to where you'll be able to roll the doors up and look out over the pool area and all that. So, we're gonna renovate it and make it a nice place to live.
What I'm hearing from Scott this morning is a gentleman, he and his family, he and his wife are approaching this in a common sense approach, a realistic approach. I know there's standards with the Historical Society, and I think you relate to those and appreciate the fact. But hopefully, in the end, that we can be part of eliminating the roadblocks.
Sure.
So you can proceed with your project in a wonderful way that's going to make that building really special to the history of Hutchinson. So
You bet.
look forward to you moving forward on it.
Appreciate that.
Scott.
Okay, Amy, one quick question. If we approve the exception, does that automatically remove this from the register? No?
No. It's just essentially a footnote on the property
Okay.
that the loading dock is no longer a conforming piece of that building.
Okay.
Scott, I got something to say. You have been, other than the meetings that we had downtown, that city meeting we had that I was at, I want to, as a mayor, thank you for your investment that you put in Hutchinson, Kansas. You're also a person that's helping us revolve Hutchinson, Kansas. And I want to make sure you get recognized, too, for all the money you spent here. And we really appreciate it that you've done this for us.
Sure. Yeah, my wife and I appreciate that. It's this is our second building downtown that we've done, and so we've been through a lot of the process. In fact, we're the guinea pigs for the Cdbg. We were the ones who helped get the first one gone through, so hopefully the Davenports have a little smoother time at it than what we did. And but our city staff here has been great to work with on everything that we've done. And I see progress happening, and I know that all this is it's part of a process, and so that's why we're here today. So we appreciate the consideration.
Great.
All right, thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you're going to use the roll-up garage doors rather than the French doors. I think aesthetically that is more appropriate. Yeah.
Do you want to ask if there's other input? Because
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to this? Okay.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Tyra Stigler-Rolla?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes.
I move to grant the appeal of the Landmarks Commission determination and authorize the issuance of a building permit for the work described for 225 South Main Street based upon a finding that there is no feasible and prudent alternative to the project for economic reasons.
Jay, can I make a recommendation?
Yeah.
Can you amend that to include the modification to the 2 roll-up doors instead of the French doors?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Will you modify that? Poor Linda, always trying to clean up our messes.
I'll get that included in the minutes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Got a second?
Second. I didn't know if you were done yet, or if you were gonna say the amendment.
Tyra Stigler-Rolla?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes.
Hey, Amy, before you go, or do you have another item?
Nope, I'm done.
Well, we heard that you are leaving the city for an amazing opportunity. Just wanted to thank you so much for your service. We're going to miss you and so happy for you and proud of you and really sad that you're leaving, but thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure to work for you guys. So.
Yeah.
Wish you well.
Item 8A, consider resolution approving the Hutchinson Rod Run as a special event.
Paul Brown, City Attorney. Have a resolution for the Hutchinson Rod Run, but knowing how things work, we'll just say, Jim Gruber, come on up and tell us about your plans for this year.
Thanks for everything. And thank God we're kind of getting back to normal a little bit. So this is kind of, we feel like maybe one of the first steps that we can have something really big happening downtown. And we did miss it last year. We had a little event just to say we did something. But this is going to be great. We've got good response from people, especially the car people that kept asking us last year, well, are we going to do it? Are we going to do it? And it didn't happen. So, and we understand that. We appreciate everything that the city's done too in the past. This will be 14 years that we've done it downtown. Time to travel fast. And so our plans are kind of the same. We've got some new things though coming down along with it. Hutch Rec is starting a new Fall Fest thing that we're going to kind of combine some events together, make it a little bigger, a little better than it has been in the past. So we're gonna come back with a little bit of a vengeance this year and try to make it as good as we can. So any questions, I'd be glad to answer. I did leave some of you guys some pamphlets there that are advertising pamphlets, and I know every one of you drive a car, so there's a registration there. You can put your cars in the show for us too.
Knowing I know where it's going to be at, could you please tell the listening public where it's at,
Sure,
where it's going to be
sure.
at?
Well, and again, we use pretty much the same format every year, but we start at 3rd Street and we go all the way to B Street on Main. Avenue A will go from Walnut to Washington, and that's one extra thing too that's being added this year. We're having a vintage market place along Walnut and A Street right there next to Memorial Hall. And so that's another big addition that should draw a lot of people to the event also. And then again, this year we've changed a little bit. We're because of the incorporation with the Hutch Rec area, we're going to incorporate 1st Street from alley to alley in the middle of the block, each direction, east and west off of Main. We're going to have this seems funny, and I've had a lot of people kind of gasp at it a little bit, but we're actually going to have the Hutchinson Symphony playing in the street Saturday afternoon. So you've got to come out for that. They're going to be playing for several hours downtown.
Oh,
So that'll be kind of cool.
fantastic.
And we need all the prayers we can get for good weather. So that's kind of it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Motion to approve resolution approving the Hutchinson Rod Run October 1st and 2nd, 2021 as a special event. To City Code Section 801, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
We really are asleep at the wheel today.
Myra Steger-Rowland,
Yes.
Dave Line.
Yes.
Soldner.
Yes.
Bagwell.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes. You're done. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for all your work on this.
Thank you.
We're all just kind of in a fog.
Item 8B, consider a resolution approving the Lip Sync 9 event as a special event.
Paul Brown, City Attorney. I'm not sure we have anybody appearing on this, but this is primarily a housekeeping matter. This is an event at Sand Hills Brewery. Part of it is going to occur in their parking lot. And as part of our ordinances, we prohibit that activity even in private parking lots. So for them to hold their event, we just provide a resolution establishing a district. And it is their parking lot. They own it. This will keep them in the clear to conduct their event.
Lip syncing. Does that mean they sing to a, well, I don't know. What?
It's a fundraiser for Stage 9.
Okay.
And yes, groups lip sync to
Music.
a variety of songs.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have a group, Steve? You're not doing
No,
it?
no.
No. Okay, I will move to approve the resolution approving the Lip Sync 9 event July 30th, 2021 as a special event pursuant to City Code Section 18801 and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second. Okay.
Myra Steger-Rowland.
Yes.
Dave Line.
Yes.
Soldner.
Yes.
Bagwell.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Item 8C, consider ordinance amending zoning regulations.
Good morning. Ryan Beatlick, Director of Planning and Development. This does not require a public hearing, so we can jump right in here, but the public hearing was held at the Planning Commission. But yes, this is a package of some zoning amendments that we have been working on, either from direction from the Planning Commission or from comments that we've received from the development community. Just kind of a reminder of what the ordinance says about this. That review of the zoning regulations on a fairly regular basis is required under City Code, Section 27324. We did recently transition to a semi-annual review. Previously, we would do one large package of amendments, usually at the beginning of the year, and then kind of piecemeal as we would have them. There is some expense because every ordinance we do, we have to publish it and all of that, so there's some expense on that. So we have recently transitioned to a semi-annual review. So our intent is that we would be bringing any ordinance changes to you in July and in January of each year. So that gives us a little bit more time to really study issues, but still remain being flexible and being responsive to concerns or changes in our ordinance. This was based on some comments that were received from the commission, the public, and recommendations from the professional staff. The Planning Commission held 2 study sessions on this package of ordinances on May 25th and June 22nd. Our Development Review Committee reviewed this on June 22nd, and there was a public hearing that was held on July 13th. And Planning Commission did recommend approval to you all with a 7-0 vote. So I will kind of go through some the proposed amendments, and then I'll actually go into each individual change. The first one would be permitting accessory structures in the front yard of a residential use with administrative adjustment and some additional requirements. We have had a couple of folks who have come to us that have larger properties that have a desire to put a garage or a shed or something like that in front of their home. That is typically not something that you know, accessory structures are supposed to be subordinate to that primary structure, but we do believe that there are some cases where this might be justified, certainly on a little bit larger properties. So that is one of the changes. Also, we have received some comments from some folks who are wanting to do portable storage or multimodal shipping containers for storage use for a long-term or permanent use. Our ordinance does allow for this, but in some changes when it was done back in 2018, we believe something may have been inadvertently repealed and never really brought back. So this is just cleaning that up and putting some regulations on that. And then the final is fuel storage tanks and fuel storage and dispensing of a non-commercial aspect. This would be permitted in a C3 and C4 district as an accessory use with design requirements. And you'll see accessory use, especially with the fuel storage. That really, what are the tests of accessory uses is we have to look and see, is this something that the accessory use really goes along with the primary use on the property. So one of the instances where this came from is that we had a car dealership that they want, it's easier for them to fuel their vehicles on site instead of having to drive off, to quick shop every time to fuel up a vehicle. And so we believe that that is a use that goes along with that primary use, and so we would look at that as that would be a permitted accessory use for that principal use. So I'll kind of get into a little bit here of each of the individual changes. So the first one, this is about the accessory structures. Currently, we do allow for accessory structures to be placed in the front yard of a residential property with 3 requirements. The first one is the property is a minimum of 3 acres in size. The second is that the accessory structure still has to meet the minimum setbacks of the zoning district. And then 3, that the accessory structure is comprised of wood or combination of wood and other elements typically associated with residential construction. In order for someone to do this, they have to go through our administrative adjustment process, which I believe everyone's familiar with, but basically we kind of term that as minor variances. And so we place a sign on the property. The neighbors have an opportunity to comment. If we don't receive any comment within 10 days, we will go ahead and continue the issuance of the permit for that. What staff is recommending, and what the Planning Commission is recommending, is to remove that subsection 1 there. The property is a minimum of 3 acres in size. Really what it comes down to is that we have some properties that, especially in areas that were originally in the county or that were maybe developed in a little bit more of a rural style, that their homes are set a little bit further back from where the setback line is. Typically in the more developed part of the city, homes are built right up to the setback line. We have several cases where homes are built a little bit further back. And so we think in that case, with the proper notification of the neighbors, going through this administrative adjustment process, that as long as they're meeting those setbacks and still making sure that that structure is complementary to the residential construction, that we think that that's a reasonable request. So one of the questions we received, some of the concerns we received was, well, does this mean that metal buildings could go in front of homes? No, it does not. That we're not opening that up. That has been very, very clear in the community that is not something
Right,
that,
no metal,
the residents of Hutchinson want to see. So that number 3 will certainly stay there, that does need to be comprised of wood or other type of material that you would see with residential construction. So moving along here, the multimodal shipping containers and portable storage. So we currently do allow for these with with some design requirements in the C4, C3, CR, and EN zoning districts, and as well as in our industrial districts. So there's quite a bit going on here. So the first thing is that we will permit these as an accessory use with a special use permit and these design requirements in the C4 and C5 zoning districts, so our special commercial and our downtown zoning district.
Can you differentiate between C3, C4, and C5?
Yeah, so C3 is our automotive district, so that would be
C3?
More of our
Okay.
auto-oriented businesses. C4 is our special commercial, so that's more big box retail. So you'll see that along the K61 corridor, the mall area is zoned C4, the Dillon's area, that is zoned C4 as well. C5 is downtown.
Okay.
And then we would permit these as an accessory use with some design requirements in the I1, I2, and I3. So I1 is light industrial, I2 is general industrial, and I3 is our heavy industrial zoning district. So as I mentioned, we already have these, but if you look at the table, it directs you to a section 27.915. If you look at what's currently in the code, that was repealed back in 2018. So technically, we're kind of flying blind here. Someone could come in and request these. We haven't had really anyone who's done it, but we have no real restrictions on these. So What we are saying is that these units would have to comply with design requirements. The staff looked at several cities around the state. We looked at Wichita. We looked at Leoti and one of the cities up in the Kansas City metro area. And these were all very similar type of restrictions they have. So the first one is that these containers would be allowed as an accessory use. It could only be located on a lot with a principal building. So someone could not just put this on a vacant property and start using it for storage. It does need to be tied to a principal use that is on a plat or on a property. The second one is we would limit on platted lots larger than 1 acre, a maximum of 2 containers. On lots that are 1 acre or less, they would be allowed 1 container. Number 3, the containers would need to be set at least 5 feet from behind the front wall line of the principal building on site. So we're trying once again that we don't want that to be the first thing that folks see. It really does need to be subordinate to the building. Number D, the containers will have to still meet all yard and setback regulations. Number 5, all signage and logos would need to be removed. Number 6, the container would need to match the colors of the principal building or would need to be an earth tone color that appears inconspicuous. Once again, we're trying to make sure these don't stick out. They really do blend in with the surrounding area. Container would need to be permanently anchored to the ground and maintained so the container is safe, structurally sound, stable, and good repair. So not rusted out and all of that. We want these to look good. We would not allow for vertical stacking of containers or stacking material on top of the containers. And the last one is very important. This is intended for storage use. So containers cannot be modified for habitation, would be prohibited from having windows, heating, cooling, plumbing, multiple entrances. We would allow for electrical ventilation. Planning Commission pointed out there is cold storage that's needed, so we did add refrigeration systems that would be permitted to meet minimum codes and standards. So we have also received a lot of questions about what could somebody do, because if you're familiar with Wichita, Douglas, there is a commercial development that's built out
with
of
containers.
Yeah. In that case, we would look at that falling under our neighborhood compatibility standards, and it would we would be working with the building inspector to ensure that they meet building code. At that point, they really just become the construction material. So we would look at it from our neighborhood compatibility standards. Are there other types of that material that are in that neighborhood? So we have had some questions about that. Does this allow or disallow that type of a development? And we, in our review of our ordinances, it would be allowed if it was compatible with the neighborhood.
Okay.
All right, last bit. I'm throwing a lot out here today, so I apologize. The last one is the fuel storage tanks and fuel storage and dispensing for non-commercial. The only change with this is that we're allowing this as an accessory use with design requirements in the C3 and C4 zoning districts. And we did add some additional changes. The first one, letter A, that initially said 20 feet. That has been changed to 50 feet in conversations with our fire marshal that our original code didn't meet fire code. So if you have a fuel storage tank, it has to be at least 50 feet away from property lines. So we're just updating that change. Letter C, we struck R1 and R2 zoning districts because it was never allowed in the use table, so I don't know why that got carried over into there. The real change is in subsection D, the allowance of above ground storage tanks. So we would allow for that in our C3 and C4 zoning districts, but they would need to meet a handful of requirements. The first one is that the tanks would be limited to no larger than 1,100 gallons of capacity per tank. Number 2, the tanks would have to meet the city fire code, city building code, as well as any state and federal regulations. State of Kansas, as well as the federal government, both have additional regulations on above ground storage tanks. And then because this isn't a commercial zoning district, and we would treat this very similar to any other type of mechanical equipment that would be on a property, tanks would need to be screened on all 4 sides from public view with a solid fence of wood or vinyl or a solid wall, which completely conceals the tank from public view. We do allow for chain link with slats that could be used as the gate or the doorway for the enclosure. So once again, very similar to what we require for dumpster enclosures and any other type of mechanical equipment on new development. So with that, I will pause and be happy to answer any questions you have, because I know I threw a lot at y'all today. So
I have had a call on a gentleman wants to make a neighborhood of this. I don't know if you had that call, but just by talking to him, I told him to go to you. But now you're showing us everything, and I assume he wanted to stack them. He said they had them in Wichita, like he said, and he wanted to know if we could do that here. Of course, I told him I don't know nothing about this. They have to go to you. You didn't receive a call on that?
I've not received that. I mean, typically how we would deal with that in that situation is our ordinance has neighborhood compatibility standards. So
Okay.
we look at if somebody wants to build something, what does the rest of the neighborhood have?
Right.
So in that case, staff would probably have some concerns. We don't really have that, but we just have to really probably look and see what's in that neighborhood.
I hate to butt in there, but I think it's kind of a newer, I mean, if you always go by neighborhood standards, then how can someone be the first person?
And I understand that, and that's really
And is
where
that something
I think
that
that
you
would be a
would
variance.
maybe talk
possibly.
to the actual people in the neighborhood?
All I
how
can say
they
is
feel
there's
about
been a
it?
very, very long history in this community with folks that have wanted to do like metal in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And it has been very clear, at least last time this was really brought up publicly, that was not something that the public really wanted to see. We have been a little bit more flexible. We do allow for metal as long as it looks like a residential material. So there are actually a few houses in Hutchinson that have metal siding, but they are of the horizontal lap siding, so it looks like vinyl siding. So we do allow for that, and so that would maybe be kind of the conversation we'd have with someone is, sure, you could use it as building material, we would just want it modified so it looks a little bit more residential. Because these do tend to be industrial. I have seen them like up in Kansas City. They do look really interesting and neat, but it has to kind of fit in with the neighborhood, and so I don't know how that would fit in Hutchinson.
I
don't
know
how
if
the
you're
neighbors
first
would-
person to do it, how do you know when it will fit?
Absolutely.
I think you always
Yep.
got to be willing to at least
Yep.
talk to the neighborhood and talk to the people and just automatically say, well, we haven't ever done it. So, because if you say if it's going to fit, it has like, how do you be the first person? How do you?
And I agree, and that's
Yeah.
that's why we certainly try to be flexible and
Yeah, and I always
see what
encourage
folks wanna do.
flexibility and to talk to the neighbors and the community and the people that would be affected and get their input
Absolutely.
on how they feel about it.
That's why we post
Because they could very well be opposed, but you never know unless you ask and you get that new idea out there and and just having that open mind.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm just happy to see the semi-annual review and
Okay.
your responsiveness to requests for changes in our ordinances. So I'm really encouraged by everything your department keeps doing to be more responsive to people of Hutch. So thank you.
I would move to approve ordinance amending section 27-406D, 27-406D3, 27-503E5D, and 27-915 of Chapter 27 of the Code of the City of Hutchinson, Kansas, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Iris Akarala?
Yes.
Dayline?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes.
Item 8D, consider resolution of intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate.
Good morning. Angela Richard, Director of Finance. Before you this morning is a resolution of intent to levy a property tax exceeding our revenue neutral rate. What this resolution does is it gives the finance director and myself the authority to provide this to the county clerk to provide notice that we will exceed our revenue neutral mill levy. It also establishes the public hearing date. You can see on your memo that our 2021 mill levy was 44.462. In former budget study sessions, the majority of the council would like to keep that mill levy flat. So the proposed mill levy that we would like to present to the county clerk would be 44.462, which exceeds the revenue neutral rate of 43.588. So if you are in agreement that you would like to keep the mill levy flat, please approve the resolution, and I will provide this to the county clerk to give her notice. Normally, what will happen in the future is the county clerk will then send out letters to all the households notifying them that we would like to exceed our revenue neutral rate. This year, that requirement has been waived, so she will not be mailing those letters. What we will do after this is, before the public hearing, 10 days before, we will publish this notice in the newspaper and on our website to alert citizens, and then we will have our public hearings. So, are there any questions?
Angela, it's probably not important, but are the general fund and bond and interest mills switched in there?
Yes. Yes, they are.
Okay.
I apologize.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It all adds up the same. I was
Yes.
just curious.
Angela, during the budget process, you did a really good job of explaining this new language of revenue neutral rate. Would you mind taking a minute and kind of walking us through, and particularly for the benefit of the public who may be viewing this morning's meeting, about what we really mean by the revenue neutral rate and what we're actually doing here?
So the revenue neutral mill levy, as the mill levy, it would take using our valuation from 2021 to raise the same amount of property tax that we received in 2021 from our budget, which would have used the 2020 valuation. So if your valuation goes up, your mill levy is going to go down to maintain that same amount of actual tax dollars that you're receiving. So there's no taking advantage of any valuation increases, whether that's new properties, annexations, or property tax exemptions that are expiring. So we would receive the same tax dollars as prior years. By keeping the mill levy flat, we are raising additional tax dollars based off of the valuation increase.
And you have given us an estimate as to what additional revenue that is?
Yes, let me.
277 or?
$270,000, 813.
Okay.
278.13.
Thank you for that explanation. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a hard question here.
Okay.
The bottom line is, will taxes, it will go up and depend on your house. Is that right?
If you paint your house the way SB 13 is written, I believe your valuation should not increase.
Okay.
So unless you have done something substantial to your house to raise the valuation, it should stay flat. If your valuation stays flat and our mill levy stays flat, you will be paying the same amount of tax year after year.
Thank you. Yep, thank you. Because that question will be coming up, trust me, when I walk out that door. All right. Any other questions of her?
I will move to approve the resolution regarding the governing body's intent to levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate and authorize the mayor to sign.
I second that.
Iris De Carvalho?
Yes.
Dave
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
No.
Garza.
Yes.
Item 9, consider update on unsafe and dangerous structures.
Izzy, can we take a break? This has been a long time, or would the council keep, well, I want to keep going on. Can we take
I don't mind a 5-minute break.
5-minute break? Izzy? We'll give you a break.
Sorry.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. My name is Izzy Rivera. I'm the Director and Building Official for the Building and Neighborhood Services Department. When I was last in front of this governing body, back in April 6th of this year, the council had granted the applicants, Mr. and Mrs. Don and Susan Gress, a final 3-month extension to allow them to be able to show major progress on the properties that were in question at the time. The PowerPoint presentation I'm about to show you will show you my findings per my visit of the property this past Friday, July 16th, and then yesterday, July 19th, which is why you found, when you came in, a revised, updated report showing what happened those 2 dates. Okay. Well, I'm going to start off with briefly, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, the pictures that we showed you, just to kind of refresh your memory of what was shown to you back in April of the condition of the buildings. And I'm going to start off with the commercial building first. As you can see, this is just, you know, how it was back in March 15th of this year. You know, most of it's all exterior pictures. Okay, now, when I went there this past Friday, July 16th, I want to show you what my findings were. As you can see, still hasn't changed much on this corner. However, this next slide, that roof has collapsed a lot more from just in 3 months. I'm assuming due to the amount of rains that we've had and the fact that it's, you know, exposed to the elements. This is what's going to eventually happen to the rest of the building. I understand that this is the part that may be demolished, but if this is happening to this part, just imagine what it's doing to the rest of it, because most of the roof is still considered open and open to the elements. As you can see, very little, there has been actually no work done on the exteriors of the building. However, I understand that the property owners will be presenting you with some information of what they've done. As you can see, there's more deterioration of the structural or roofing members of this roof. Larger openings, more caved in, once again, due to the weathers that we've had for the past couple of months. This is looking through one of the windows in the back, just showing the openings in the roof that are visible from just the outside. Of course, there's more of those inside. This is on the inside. So that's basically my presentation on the commercial portion. On my report, you'll notice that on June 28th, I received an email from Joe Haig with Mann and Company. And in the letter, and it's in your packet, it stated, let me look at it real quick. It stated that their office is unable to help the aggressors at this time with their project. They have instructed the aggressors that they need to work with a contractor and an engineer if they intend to salvage the structure. Mr. Higgs mentioned to me that they were not feeling comfortable working with this property. In their minds, it's not worth investing in it, but once again, that's at the, if the property owner still wants to do that, they were not willing to participate. And that's what he told me on my phone conversation. When I went to re-inspect the property at the halfway point on July 9th, I went to the site and I met with the aggressors on the property. Actually, the 3-month period ended in, we were supposed to meet the July 6th meeting, but I wanted to meet with them before I came to you, which is why we're here today instead of on the 6th. And I wanted to meet with them on the site and find out what progresses have been done. You can't always tell by just looking on the outside. I wanted to get a full picture and give you a full detailed report. At that point, she had handed me some information that she had gotten from a contractor and an engineer. Those are also in your packet. Earl's Engineering did a visual inspection of the property. Of course, his findings were similar to that of Mr. Joel. A lot of the roofing members needed to be either replaced or repaired due to water damage, structural deficiencies. However, because it was kind of dark in there, he couldn't really see a lot of it. But after discussing with him in person, not over the phone, he kind of mentioned the same thing with Mr. Haig. He wasn't interested with the project. He says it's, in his mind, not feasible to spend the amount of money that it would take to fix it, unless you really have that kind of money to spend. And then once again, that's up to the property owners. My job is, of course, to make sure that the building comes into compliance as quickly as possible, because it's just deteriorating, getting worse and worse. But we don't want to put the property owners in the financial hardship either by allowing this to continue. That's pretty much my presentation on the commercial building. Now on the residential, let's just do the same thing. Let me show you the pictures that I presented to you that day, and I'm just going to go through them pretty quickly. That was just the outside. They're all outside pictures. A lot of openings. Nothing was closed.
And this is uninhabited, right?
Yes,
Okay.
it's currently uninhabited, yes. This was the picture that we took of the inside from the doorway. This is the back of the building. This is looking through the floor into the basement. Now on July 19th, we went back, which was yesterday, and there was some progress being made on this property. Some of the exterior siding that was there before was removed. New house wrap was partially put up around some of it, and some siding started going up. And that's what these pictures are gonna show. As you can see, this is some of the new siding that was done. They closed up the opening to the door, cleaned up that entranceway that had a lot of debris there, making it a dangerous and tripping hazard. And they secured the roof from, well, temporarily shored it so it doesn't come down. That's the new siding compared to the old siding, so they're making some progress, at least on the exterior on this one. This is the back, they haven't touched that yet. This is the other side of it. That's the wrap that I was mentioning that they started putting up. And they're getting ready to put siding on this side. As you saw, they basically started working on the outside, which is fine. Starting to look less of an attractive nuisance, but of course nothing has been done on the inside yet. This was a little more difficult because, you know, the son is the one that's doing it pretty much by himself. So it's going to take quite a bit of time to get it into a position that it could be used. After looking at the pictures and being on the site yesterday, the roof is starting to wave a little bit, but nothing to be of concern at this point yet. But I guess when we get inside the building at some point to do inspections, we may make recommendations to make sure they shore it up properly if they want to salvage the building. And that's basically my presentation. So what we're looking for is a motion to determine each one to be either demolished or.
Yeah, I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What other alternative building, let's say if the house remained, the commercial building tore down, what alternative storage type building could they put on that lot and still be within city code?
There's several that they can use for storage. My recommendation, which would be the cheapest way to go, would be a Quantum hut storage building. Those are usually kits that you could buy. You could purchase them for anywhere from as cheap as $10,000 to $20,000. Of course, that's just a kit that, you know, now we have to pay for someone to put it together, so I'm not sure how much more that would cost. But still, it'll be another maybe $10,000, $20,000 to put it together. You still have to have the cost to demolish the property. I got one estimate from a contractor to demolish. He says it will cost about $20,000 to demolish the entire building. So add that to that cost, it's about $60,000. But to do to repair that building, I've gotten also some estimates ranging anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000, depending on what they do on the inside, how bad. Well, it's pretty much taking it down.
Yeah.
And pretty much rebuilding it, because after speaking to the engineer that wrote the report, he said due to the amount of moisture in the walls, he doesn't know the actual condition of those framing members on the exterior. They may be good, they may be bad. Of course, he wasn't able to actually physically see them, but that's a concern of his. Even though in his report he mentions replacing 3 and maybe fixing a couple of more, his comment to me over the phone was, because it was kind of dark and there he saw a lot of openings in the roof, that might, of course, open up more possibilities of additional roofing
Where
members
the
to be.
costs just keep climbing
They just
and
keep adding and adding.
Kind of like when a car starts to go downhill.
Yes.
Just keep
And keep in mind,
repairing
materials
it,
do
yeah.
have a life expectancy, and especially when they're exposed to the elements, that even reduces it more. And it's like us, you know, you're healthy, you decay a little slower, but when you start getting medical issues, you decay faster.
Yeah.
The same applies to a building.
Yeah.
There's a time where at that point it's not financially
I just didn't
feasible
know-
to spend the amount of money like was mentioned earlier, to sink money in a building that you're not going to recoup
Yeah.
in the long run.
I just didn't know if maybe during the discussions between you and them, if maybe we've given them some alternatives that would fit within our city code that would work in replace of that building, and kind of guide them through what it would look like if we go through with the demolition, and maybe alternatives to do, convince,
Well,
salesperson.
There were some conversations, of course, but
Yeah.
their goal is to keep the building
Yeah.
because of historical value to them, because of who constructed it.
Yeah.
And I understand there's some sentimental value to that. But if you're not gonna be able to recoup or even have the finances to do that, or I don't know what their financial situation is.
Yeah.
Please, I take that back. They may have the resources, I don't know.
Yeah.
Izzy,
But didn't get that way overnight.
No,
So-
and as you can see, just in the
Yeah.
3 months from the last time I showed you pictures to now,
Mhm.
it's just continued to deteriorate even more, and it's just becoming more of a danger. And I'm more concerned about, of course, my first responders in the event that someone has to go in there to, for whatever the reason may be,
Yeah.
or even to fight a fire. I don't want anyone getting hurt.
I'd like for the owners, are they here?
Yes,
Like
and
the-
they will be speaking shortly after me. They
Okay.
want to bring some information to your
Yeah.
attention.
I just wanted to know if there was any kind of discussion with that, because, being, with my background, certainly I don't want to, it's their property, but if there's any way to make it where they think of it like business-like. If a
Mhm.
business were in that predicament, they would demolish the building and put something new up
Right.
at a cheaper cost, because it's not, from a bottom line perspective, that would be like if a business came in and bought the property, they'd probably demolish it, and so like having those talks with them, because like for me that's like, but I don't have the sentimental value that they might have on the place, but from my perspective, that's what I would do if I were in the situation.
And I agree with
from
you.
a business mindset, especially when you're struggling on getting funds and getting grants and having the ability to sometimes you have to cut your losses and come up with an alternative plan. So that's why I was wondering if we had maybe discussed some of the alternative plans with them, and what kind of building they could put up. So thank you for answering my questions on that.
Izzy, I just wanted to thank you for always preparing really thorough reports. This is really helpful. So when we make a decision that runs counter to your recommendation, I don't want you to think it's because we don't respect the work you're doing, but I do have some concerns based on the information I received today about demolishing this property, because it has been awarded federal grants that are tied up in a political process. And I feel like that's a huge failure on the federal government side, and I don't want to also fail this business on the local government side if it's really just a matter of waiting for that to come through. But I don't understand how all that works, if that'll be sufficient. Those are the kind of questions that, maybe the property owner could answer. But I think that it's worthy of noting that there are funds potentially coming through for assistance.
Which is true, and my recommendation would be to use those funds to purchase a building that will be newer, more durable. She basically wants to use it for storage. That could be, like I said, just about anything. And like I said, one of those kits are relatively cheap. And I mean, they even have cheaper models. It just depends on the size of the building that you want. That's why the price will go up a little bit. But to spend $10,000 to $15,000 for a building, and then just have somebody maybe for another 10 to put it back up, put it together, it's not good. Versus spending anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000 just to rebuild what's there.
Okay, yeah.
It's better to use those grant funds a little bit better, in my opinion. That's just one thing in my opinion. Now, when will those funds be available? I don't know. Just keep in mind that just delays and worsens the condition of the building. It might collapse on itself, and I'm trying to avoid that. I prefer it being a controlled demolition versus an uncontrolled demolition. This is nothing, of course, compared to what happened in Florida, but keep in mind a lot of the code officials throughout the nation are now looking at their building stocks and doing evaluations based off of what happened over there. ICC is also getting involved in that and giving us updates on what to look forward when it comes to buildings of that type, and giving us some direction. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
I hate that it takes a disaster to
Yeah.
open up our eyes, but of course this is nowhere near that level. But
Okay. I'd like to hear from the resident, please.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have taken on John Irving to consult on my property, business, structures, and to basically help us as a family. As you've seen from the new information this morning, I applied through H&R Block. They do my taxes on grants and the availability for funding to help to renovate my structure. And the American government, through the SBA, someone sued the SBA in 3 states, so therefore it's on hold. There are also 3 other grants pending. I also contacted the Department of Women and Minorities in Topeka, Kansas. Ms. Harris is working with us on funding because the state of Kansas is supposed to receive money for women and minorities. So the funding, some of it's there, some of it isn't. This year at the Kansas State Fair will be my 53rd year. So we're glad to have the fair. There's major funding there. Also with catering very large events on the Kansas State Fairgrounds. And you got this information this morning. I also contacted 5 contractors that came in the building, looked, went all through the rafters. You have some information there from Ty Richardson. I also have one you didn't get from Ray Roofing. From the perspective of the contractors, the building, that there's trusses on one end that need to be amended, new trusses or repressed. And that's something I learned. I didn't know trusses could be repressed. But beyond that, that's basically what they say. Now, in time, they went out and looked at the walls. It is not pretty from the outside. But Mr. Rivera has not been inside the building. The structural engineer who left my project for a bigger project. Okay, this is Susie Gress right here. You have a bigger project right here you're going to make a lot of money with. What are you going to do? You're going to go to the bigger projects. This particular gentleman is with a firm that has 4 locations. He said he was the only structural engineer, so he was pulled off to Pittsburgh, Kansas. The day he came, all the doors were open and it was lit up and he could see in there. Not only that, he had a flashlight on his head, went through all the rafters, looked at everything. So his first report is saying that the building is repairable. The foundation is good, the walls are good. I had called back in April to see about naming Bone Break Bernard Place or Bernard Avenue. So from these different bids from these contractors, from $20,000 or $17,000 on up to do the roof, the south end is still going to be demolished. It doesn't look good. We know this. We want it to look better and be a part of the community. So I figured with 5 contractors going, this is repairable. And I understand what Izzy is saying. He wants it to be safe for the community, and I do too. We are not in Florida. We're not 20 stories up. It's just a lowly building that I need for storage, for the fair and for catering. I cannot store all my information as far as China water goblets and whatever at the fairgrounds. That's not going to work. So as a woman, I need help. I seek help from the state, from grants, and I feel like from what the contractors have told me, why would they even bid on it or come out and look at it if it wasn't repairable and functional? So, any questions?
When do you expect to demolish the south side?
Mr. Irving will tell you about that.
My name is John Irving, and I'm a Hutchinson resident here, and I have a lot of experience in dealing with City Hall, especially Hutchinson City Hall. I have not met the new city manager, but I've dealt with the previous two. And I've also dealt with the Chamber of Commerce and Mr. Dave Line on many occasions and served on the board of directors with them. I'm also a charter member of the Housing Commission. I was there when it started, and I was their first chairman. So I know their mission as well. I thought about this. I've only had a week, and I should be at another job now, but I'm not. I think this is important to not only the family, but also important to Hutchinson, and not just a personal understanding and a personal feeling to have that building. It looks a mess. The property's a mess. That mess, I think, could be started with, and also would say a lot about the future of this project, is if we would start with demolishing that south end and clean up. Period. Start there. I believe in the bids that she's received. They're not near that 50,000 for the demo. They're not near that. If you take a look, the highest bid is not 50,000. But let's just pull out the two bids in terms of the roof, that 22,000. And let's even talk about the trusses to replace those 4 damaged trusses. I think they're at about $700 a piece. That'd be 4. That'd be $2,800. You throw that in there with that 22,000, and then you take a look at. We'll pull half of that bid, the highest bid, about rebuilding the interior. That comes to around $43,000 from what they say. Whether they can do it or not, I don't know, but those are the bids. I go back to start with, what can the city do to help? Has the project went to the Housing Commission to see what they had to assist with the residential area? No. Has Susie went to the economic development area or any other part of the city to see what they could provide as a partnership in this endeavor? No. I would just like to throw this out there just for the heck of it. How about we start with demolishing that south end?
Mm-hmm. That'd be great.
And find the funding for that. It was my understanding that they had a bid for around $2,000, $1,700, or something like that to demolish it, the south part. I would say that, wouldn't it be great to have a neighborhood cleanup consistent with the timing of that demolition?
Let's do it, John.
How about we try that? And that neighborhood cleanup, put those dumpsters right on that property. We pay for the demolition of that south end. The neighborhood cleanup, we could use those dumpsters to throw in a little more of that trash that's out there that we see. The blight would end. One of the bids says that they should cover the roof to the unsightliness and also to hopefully stop any more deterioration of what's left. We pay for that as well. We cover the roof, we cover the roof, we demolish the south end, we clean it up, and we come back to you. And about that time, perhaps, the booming construction that you have in the city going, where even if they had the money, they couldn't fix it yet because they're busy, according to, and you know as well that they're busy, and that she couldn't have done it anyway with the money yet. But again, I would love to see a neighborhood cleanup consistent with the demolition and have the funding in place, which, if you're correct, and we'll confirm that bid and get it to you to make sure that that bid is solid for this 1,700 to do the south end. And we just throw in another 300 for a little bit of labor to help clean up the rest of that. And we could use those neighborhood cleanup dumpsters and that contract with the demolition company, and we see what's going on there. From there, the blight is gone. Let's clean the blight up. And perhaps we'll see if it really is a viable project from that point on, because you're going to have to clean it up anyway.
Yeah,
You're going to have to demolish the
I
rest
think-
of it anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to see the south end demolished and the building shored up. Because I think if you get rid of the worst part out of the view, we can kind of see what more is going on. And I would agree that, I would agree if there was a commitment to get
The demo.
the demo done, that we certainly can give more time on the building you're wanting to keep.
One thing I do want to share, and Izzy knows, right now, your contractors in this city are very busy, which is good. But the time frame, like he said, for them to get to us, we would be put on a list, the same way with the contractors. I did call Mr. Richardson, who's on the house building board, and I think Izzy said that he had visited with you. I said, well, if we wanted to buy a new building from you and you install it, when can you do it? He said December of 22.
Wow.
So right now, with construction, materials going up, but the contractors here being really busy, that's another little glitch. Now, I have contacted 2 other engineers in Wichita. One is coming over August the 16th, and the other one is getting ready to give me another date. So, as a family, we have continuously went for funds, engineering, whatever we can do, and then taking on Mr. Irving.
Yeah,
Susie,
I
I think
would
we'd
like-
all be a lot more comfortable if we could just get that south side demolished. So if, do you think that, you have some bids for that, Mr. Irving said?
Yes.
And do you think that could be done in a timely manner, or what are your thoughts on that? Honest
Let's
thoughts.
consult.
I would say that the first thing we need to do is to confirm that bid. And get a date certain of when they'll start that effort. And bring that to you to let you know it's yes or a no. But to confirm that bid and confirm the cost. If the cost is what they say, then we have the money in our pocket right now. You can see it if you want. If-
Take it out.
Can we get, okay,
No,
so are you,
I'm just telling you, that's a fact.
yeah, are you proposing that we extend it to the next council meeting, give you till the?
Yes, but in between that time, like Mr. Irving is saying, we want to keep in touch. And I will keep in touch and do my best
The next
to
council
work.
meeting is a week.
No,
Is that-
it's 90 days, but here's the thing.
No, the next council, I'm saying, no, he was correct. I was saying that on the next council meeting, which would be August 3rd, I would like to see you again on August 3rd, because it shouldn't take more than a couple weeks to confirm a demolition
That's correct.
bid and a date.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to say a week, if in fact, if
It's a
can you get the
couple weeks.
contract? I have the, we have the
2
money.
weeks.
We have the money.
It's 2
So
weeks.
you're
But-
wanting in 2 weeks
In 2 weeks.
to come back?
And say, I've got a set date.
And a set bid.
Yeah. For the
I think that's
demolition
more
of
than
the
fair.
south side.
I think that's more than fair. And to put a time frame on it is kind of, that's difficult for you to do, and difficult for us, because if they're saying if you had the money, we couldn't do it now.
Well, no,
With-
because, well,
But-
okay, so
but-
I have rental properties, right? And
Mhm.
I need a job done.
Mm-hmm.
I've just had a bathroom where I have a tenant that I moved from one house to another because she needed ADA, right? So I actually got a house and I modified the door to the bathroom. I had to make it wider so her wheelchair could fit and I could get her into a house where her wheelchair would work. You know what I did? I called, I got a bid, I paid half, and then paid half when it was complete, and I had a date set 1 month out. So I already had it paid for, I already had a contract signed, even though the work wasn't gonna get done till a month later. I'm saying, come back to us in 2 weeks with that.
Did you want to say something?
Yes. You're fine. If that's the route that the city council wants to go, that'll be fine. However, know that before any demolition can be done, because of the south end is connected to the north end, there has to be some engineering done to make sure that the north end is somehow shored up so that when they do demolish the south end, the north end doesn't come down.
For sure.
So we still need engineering plans, at least for that for now. I don't know if she will have to find someone to do that. I'm hearing that August 16 might be the date, or that someone might be able to come down just to take a look at it. So I'm not sure how much more time before the engineers could provide me with some sort of documentation, and the contractors some guidance as to how to work with this building so that part of it doesn't demolish on its own while they're demolishing the part that they do want to demolish.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I'll be looking for if this is the route that the city council wants to go.
I want a commitment that the south end is going to be demolished, and then that's all I really want.
Okay, so with that commitment, like you said, I'm looking at 2 other engineers out of Wichita. So in order, like he said, for that to be tore down, you want an engineer to sign off on it?
No, you just have to.
I think I got you.
Yeah, I need some sort of plan, and the contractor's also gonna need some plan to
Right.
know how to address the situation safely before he starts knocking anything down. So the engineer will draw plans showing how the shoring's gonna be shored.
What was the original, what bid are you guys talking about?
For the tear down?
Yeah, where did you guys get that bid from?
My husband got it.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, if you said, what
Yeah.
date?
August 3rd.
So if we have to find another engineer in Wichita, I don't know. The 16th would probably be better. What date?
the 17th of August?
17th of August, we could come back. But again, in between time, to work with Izzy, show the progress and communication.
Okay, August 17th, yeah. That would be 1 month to get because I just want to see the demolished part. I know you already want to get that demolished, and if that commitment could be done, it would be a huge step towards getting,
Yes.
you know.
And then hopefully.
Yeah.
So, he's hard of hearing, I'm sorry. That's okay. So, the other thing is, here's the other roof bid.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm gonna have to find another engineer.
Yeah.
So she said the 17th instead of the 16th. hopefully, these grants and loans also will come through. H&R Block has really worked with me very good. Back to the trusses, the concern on that, we consorted Mill Creek and Newton. Their top flight on that. He has the diagrams and the bid for the trusses.
Is that what you presented?
You did?
Yeah.
You did? Okay, so
Is that
a lot of
Mill Creek? Yes,
Yeah.
That's for the $2,382.20.
on the replacements of the trusses. And that, from what I'm getting from all the contractors, you know, to climb up there to look. Now, we're gonna cover that roof temporarily to stop, and that's what the engineer encouraged us to do, to stop any moisture or continuing deterioration of the property.
Yeah.
Susie and John, just a few observations here this morning. I think you get a sense that we as a governing body are open and certainly receptive to some alternative plans. My first question to you, Susie, quite candidly, is why?
Why? Because
Why are you so determined in your mind to invest an unknown amount? Does this make really good business sense to you as
Yes, it
opposed
does.
to demoing the property? You control the property, the land, and to look for some alternatives for a temporary or a permanent storage facility that meets all the code. I just need a clarification from you as
Okay,
to
my
why are you somewhat insistent that this is the best approach for you guys? Because I'm not sure if I've said this before. I'm not sure if we're doing you a favor in all of this.
Well, I
And
feel like
we want to be fair to you.
I want you to be fair to me, and I'm glad you're all here. Who built the building? Samuel R. Bernard.
Did Sam build it?
Absolutely, and Bernard Brothers Construction. Is it historical for this city? Yes, it is. How many other black businesses are standing
I know.
here in Hutchinson? Go ahead, Mr. Garza.
Susie, what we're really talking about is one word in your minds that we've got to implant through this whole process, and that is we're at a point where execution is paramount to this project having any chance of succeeding.
And I don't want to get an electric chair. I do not want the execution. So, are the walls good? Yes.
The execution of a plan to demo the south building, if that's step one.
Yes.
But we've got to have assurances that you all have the resources
Yes.
and the ability and dealing with the unknowns. And Izzy is there to help guide you.
Yes.
He is there to help guide you. I think we want to be open. We don't want to just shut the door on you.
Please
But
don't.
I'm still puzzled by, is this the right decision collectively for you to take?
Every morning, Mr. Dave Line, in my life, I wake up. We all have insurities, but our family is residual. We're resistant. We're fighters. So,
I know you are.
how did my parents buy that property? Their house burnt down with my husband and my son in it. Now, if my husband hadn't came in, we'd all died. Burn up. My parents took that money, instead of building a house, bought that property, and in time, again, in time, put the building up. It didn't come overnight. So that's why I'm determined. First of all, I need a place to store it, and I'm a risk taker like my mother, and I'm going to do it.
I appreciate that.
And it's not how hard we fall, but how
I know.
fast we get back up.
To
So
John
I'm up, and I want to do it.
To you, John Irving. John, you've looked at this for a brief period of time. You consulted with a lot of groups and companies and businesses over the years. But do you see this being viable? Do you believe that there are the financial resources in order to get this project executed for the initial step one? And I want to also ask about the residents too. So that's a whole separate issue. We
Yeah.
haven't talked about that. So let's deal with the commercial business. Let's deal with the south end, John.
To answer your
I want
question-
you to be really candid and open with us on.
To answer your question, I
Yep.
don't think it's feasible today. I don't. Today. But I took this job on because I'm going to find out. And I know what Bernard's Restaurant and Catering means to the black community.
Right.
Is it worth the money to save that 60 by 60? The storage space, no south end. Is it worth the money? You damn right. And can we find the money for that portion? You damn right.
You think we can, John?
Without a doubt. However, do I think it's feasible? Not today. So that's why I want to. The best money spent will start the demolition because you're going to have to demolish it anyway. So the best dollar spent. Is that feasible? Yes. Because you're going to have to do it anyway. So let's start there. And like the gentleman said, one of the best things I heard is make sure that if you demo the south end, it won't affect the north end. Because if it
What will
does,
these 30 days do for you guys?
30 days?
Yeah. In
30
terms
days
of the execution of the plan.
Of the demolition.
For me,
For the demo.
for me, the 30 days would secure a bid. That'll make me feel a whole lot better to know that this is a solid bid and that we have the money, to do
You're
it.
confident you have the money?
And we have a date certain. And that's what 30 days for me would do. And for me, that makes me feel better about the project. I've been raising money all my life.
I know you have.
For a lot of things, a lot less than this. But nonetheless, the last one was the junkyard, if you recall.
Yeah, we remember that one.
Anyway, I think that we all need to know that after cleanup, everybody wants that. The whole city would like to see the site clean. I mean, as well as you as leaders. So let's do that, because you're going to have to do it anyway. If we fail at all areas, you're going to have to demolish it anyway, without a doubt. The best money spent would start right there. And that's what I think 30 days will give us, to answer your question.
Susie, you've got the passion. We know that, and you've expressed it. In my mind, John Irving, I believe, has good community credibility, and he always has. I think the two of those stand a better chance of you collectively maybe succeeding on this thing. But we've got to have more than just conversation. We've got to have some
promises.
appreciation that you've got the wherewithal. That is this really the next step is the demo first,
Yes.
and then what happens after the demo?
Well, the north wall, like Izzy said, the engineer will have to look at that and make sure that can be capped off. Then we go on to restoring the roof, putting the trusses in.
And doing a roof, phase 2.
Izzy, is that a smart approach? Is that even viable in your judgment?
Oh.
Like it has been said, if you have the funds, anything is possible. Any building can be salvaged if the funds are available. I still see that it's going to take quite a bit of money to fix this, based off of the preliminary estimates that I got off of some of our local contractors that are willing to do the work. I still feel that we're putting somewhat of a financial hardship on this family.
Yep.
That's
I see
my
that.
thing. However, that's not my call. I will do whatever this council would like me to do. If you want to extend it, give it the extension, I'll continue working with them. However, just keep in mind, as you saw in the picture, the building is still continuing to deteriorate, and it's just going to get worse, and I just don't want anything to happen.
So a grace period of 30 days, could you accept that as the interim next step?
Well, I was more content with the 2 weeks just to solidify the numbers, to get you guys a number. That's more than sufficient time to get your number. But they still need an engineer so that the contractors could know what to actually do in order to demolish the building. And the other thing that I've learned is that in Reno County, the landfill, now they want things separated. So what used to be a simple demolition, everything in the dumpster is no longer. It's gonna have to take 3 or 4 possible dumpsters depending on how the building is constructed. Metals, materials, equipment, concrete, masonry. All that needs to be separated at this point before the landfill will take it. So now there's multiple dumpsters that'll be required, more money.
I don't want to get into the proprietary side of things, and Susie, you've indicated maybe some hope with the state as far as a grant program, but this cannot be contingent. Believe me, this cannot be contingent on subsequent grants at the federal or state level. It's got to be hard, cold cash, folks.
Yes.
I mean, it really has to be that
But
in order for.
He's saying 2 weeks. The contract of the engineers and stuff are busy. I would adhere to 30 days. That would give us enough time. And I just request that Izzy will work with us.
I'm okay.
2 weeks doesn't make sense.
I'm okay with the, well, I wanted originally 2 weeks, because if you said you already had a bid,
Yeah,
then,
but 2 weeks doesn't make sense.
come
because
back saying that you.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I don't think 2 weeks is good because I believe in what Izzy says, is that it would make business sense to make sure that the demolition of the south end does not affect the project in itself.
Okay.
And as you've heard, the 16th of August, that makes the 2 weeks not in line with the engineer commitment. So even him saying 2 weeks doesn't make sense when he says we need the engineer, which makes all the sense in the world.
All right.
So you with me on that? Paul?
I'm with you on that.
Okay.
I wasn't not with you on that.
Okay.
I was trying to say that originally I had said 2 weeks, 'cause I figured you had the bid, so you could come back and say, okay, we booked it. It's gonna be, November or October. That's really what I'm wanting at the 30 days is a actual set date that the contractors are going to be arriving to demo it.
Okay.
I think we could get that, but again, I would
So that
want-
we can take this from a discussion that we've been having to an actual something happening, like something big happening,
But in lieu of the engineer coming and ensuring that the demolition of the south doesn't tear up the whole project, that concerns me now. That concerns me, and it makes all the sense in the world. And that's why I would ask for the 30 days.
Yes.
So that we could get the engineer who is committed to coming on the 16th there.
I'm just,
And that also says a lot to
I'm
the
good with the 30
business
days. I'm
sense of
just
the
saying
project.
that's my expectation at the 30 days is that we have a set demo date.
Okay.
Yeah.
Susie, I hope you will be listening to John Irving.
That's why I
He's a
took him
sensible,
on.
practical guy.
He is.
I don't think he sees a lot of blue sky here. Hopefully you don't, John. You got to be.
I'm not into blue sky.
No.
It's been
You
raining
got
a
you
lot.
got to be really honest with yourself and honest with Susie.
Yes, sir.
You really must do that. And I don't want to tell you your business. You've got
It's a tough project.
You got a great project. You got a great approach to how to solve these things because you are a problem solver. But you've got to put your trust in him, Susie.
And I will, and I do. That's why I took him on. As a woman, I need help. I'm
Yes,
the
you
first
do.
one to say I need help. So what did I do? I went and got John Irving, someone I know that's not going to lie to me, tell me the truth. Sometimes we go at it, and he seems to win.
Yeah. He has a way of that.
Susie,
He's
just
very persuasive.
for me, just remember, your legacy, your family legacy is not that building. It's your food, your hospitality that
Thank
you've
you.
done throughout the years. So I'm with John. I don't want you to make some decisions that are not good business sense just because you want to keep a building. Because the building is not what Bernard's is, okay?
This project could take her out of business if she doesn't do it right.
You know, she could rent a restaurant anywhere in town and put Bernard's on the door and people would come.
Yes. Susie, we talked last night on the phone.
Yes.
Okay. This lady had funding from the grants that she went into. This lady has a business that she goes to and puts out a lot of money. It wasn't this lady's fault, or Susie, I'm not calling you lady, miss. Okay. This lady was at it to trying to get this building. If you don't have the money, how can you repair? She's waiting for the money. She works every day. She puts out food going all across this city all the time. I don't think at 1 minute that she wanted this to happen. If she didn't have the money, then how could she repair? Now, you guys can say something about her if she got the grants and she didn't repair, then we got a problem. But the lady put in the grants. We had a long discussion. She put them out there to get the money, but she still don't have the money. So in that regard, she was trying the best that she could to get this thing on the way. In my point of view, for that being by itself, that you try to put the money in and you couldn't get the money, you were doing the best you can, I think we should give you 30 days. And another thing I want to say that really, really bothers me, it really bothers me as a city commissioner, that we tell these people you don't have the money. That is degrading to me. You come to me saying my car is bad, look at that piece of shit, you need to fix it. That's degrading to me. Why do we of a city of Hutchinson tell people that you ain't going to have the money to fix this? I have faith in these people, they will do it. And I wish we would quit saying that they're going to go under or whatever. They're the people, and I appreciate you want to keep your, for the history of it, okay? The history of it. I think they're the only people who know can make it work. And if they do fail, they fail. All right? You're the only ones that know what to fail. We come up here and we sit here, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. It's going to take money for you to go. They know the money that if they're going to fail. We can't be, I'm tired of hearing that all the time. We sit up here and we say, your house ain't feasible. Telling these people that their house is a piece of shit. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for that. I am. And that's why you see me moving around here. It's none of our business whether you're going to fail or not. We just want to say, hope for the best of you and whatever. And our own opinion saying that you're going to fail, it's not my opinion. It's not mine to tell you that. I'm sorry about that in my point of view. I've never said that. It's not feasible for you to do it. It's none of my business whether you fail or not. My business is this man right here does a good job, and he's telling you that your house is, or the business isn't up to code. So we're going to come sometime where we're going to say, well, no money's involved, and I'm going to say you can't afford to do it. Sometime we're going to say we can't do nothing else. It doesn't meet the code. We gave you extension after extension. And this one right here, you told me on the phone that you put for grants. So you were trying for the money. Am I right or wrong?
Correct, we did.
You were trying for the money. Now, and you have an accessory business that you put out money from the state fair to everything else. And it's not, you know, the building that it is right now, okay, it has water damage. A lot of buildings in this town have water damage.
Correct.
But for me to disgrade you here and say you can't afford it, and for me to sit here and say it's not feasible, it's not my business.
Well, my business is we want to make
I
it.
know.
We want
Yes,
it to be
ma'am.
fit.
Yes,
and-
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But you know if it's not going to succeed or not. I don't. I'm not a financial giant. I'm glad you're here in Hutchinson. I'm glad that you're here and you want to fight for this house and pay taxes and make this thing work.
Because if it was tore down, the city's not going to make any money off of an empty
Yes,
lot.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But on your heritage alone, I should have faith in you.
And please have that faith in me.
I do have faith in you.
Absolutely.
And I am sorry for me to hear and tell you that you're going to fail because I think you're going to make it.
Thank you.
All right? Please go by the codes. Please do what you're supposed to do. It's not my job to say it's not feasible. It's not my job to sit here and say you can't do it.
When I get excited and I get nervous, I speak. And I'm sorry about that, but I speak from the heart.
Thank you.
And it's not for me to tell you if you're going to fail or not.
Well, as long as I have John on this journey,
Yes.
I'll make it.
Okay.
Well,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
My point of view, since you had that problem in the beginning from you couldn't get the money, all right? It would be different if you didn't have out there and you weren't trying to get a loan. You weren't trying to do anything. You're just sitting at home. But you were trying with the discussion that we had. Am I right?
Correct.
You were trying.
And still trying.
On that alone, you deserve 30 days.
Thank you.
But, let me finish. On those 30 days, get something going. Keep in touch with him. He's an excellent inspector or head of our inspection department. So please try to do something in those 30 days and keep in touch with him all the time. And that bothers me when we sit here and tell you can't do it. It's not feasible. I don't know. And it's not in my business. Okay? Yes, John.
Mayor, I just, first of all, I get a feeling of them against us, and I don't want that feeling.
I agree.
Because we need you.
Yes.
And for what I've just briefly stated, we're not even going to get the cleanup done without you. And I wasn't just throwing something in the air about this neighborhood cleanup thing. I'm dead serious.
Well, we're here to
I
help.
mean, we're going to need some help.
Yeah.
And I know that the bids, I want to know the secure bid just as much as, more than you.
Yes, sir.
More than you. So that what we have to do in these 30 days, we're going to do, and we need it. And she needs it because she may have a change
Yes, sir.
of heart.
Yes.
Because the truth is a heck of a thing, and we haven't found the real truth yet.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to find out. But again, we need this gentleman. We need the city to make this to work. We're going to need them. We need you as partners, not as them
Yes, sir.
against us.
Number one, we like you being citizens of Hudson, Kansas. We like you putting money back into here. But you have to understand the point of view. My colleagues, they're very smart. They've been here longer than I have. But the difference I see is I'm not to tell you your business.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I understand.
My job sitting on the city commissioner is to help you.
Yep.
And please help me.
That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm sorry if I'm speaking out too loud, but that's the way I am. I sit here and I see things and I hear things. For our citizens, we're here to help you. But you have to understand we have rules and regulations we have to go by. And sometimes we get to that point where we have nowhere else to go but to go put demolition. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? So my point of view, I'd like to see you have 30 days. All right? If that's, do I need a motion or what?
Well, I think the motion would be to not approve the demos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Say what now?
The motion would be to not approve the demolition.
Until we get the
And
contract.
we're talking only about the commercial structure at this time, correct?
Yes, we have.
I'm gonna say we give them an extension on that.
I do too. I feel like there's been a lot more progress on the
Yeah.
residential one, so why would we approve
I'm
that
less
one?
concerned about the residential one than I am about the commercial. I just get so scared when you're seeing the
Susie, you have
roof
to
and
keep
all
in-
of that come in.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna echo a lot of what Steve said. I mean, it's your property. I put it out there like maybe consider, having it demoed so that the cost of the demo, you just get everything out. But ultimately, it's your property and it's what you choose to do with it, as long as it's maintained within a certain, so it doesn't become a hazard.
Yes.
Or you understand more than I do. It's your property. You see it every day. You know what's going on. And we know that I just think that it would just be a real big improvement and a show of faith. I mean, we need to work as a partnership,
So you're saying that demo of the south end?
It's just a real big trust builder because we've given we've listened, we've given you extensions, but I understand that COVID has just set you back. I'm sure you would be much further along had you not lost that revenue because of the industry that you're in. I fully believe that you would be a lot further along. So I just think having that demo is just a communication of trust, that we're putting trust in you and you're putting trust in us, and we're continuing on.
And I
with
want
this.
that partnership. So by the 17th,
Yeah.
you want the bid, a date, the best we can get.
And then once we know the date, we can talk about maybe getting a hold of the city members and seeing, can we do a neighborhood cleanup?
Yeah.
Because once we have a date, we'll be able to get with the department heads and see if something.
John?
Yeah.
So the whole thing is, I am sticking my neck out because I say what I believe. Please follow through what you do and stay in touch with him if we do grant that. I think just because you did go out there and get applications for getting money, you weren't trying to fool us. You were trying to get the money and it didn't come through for you. All right? That stuff would have been repaired by now if you had the money, right?
Correct.
So, in that sense alone,
Maybe, no,
Okay.
maybe.
Get a
maybe.
contractor to come.
police have been worked on. I don't know.
There were, hopefully, I don't know. I don't think it would have been repaired by now.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I don't, because we have to get back to the contractor's issue and what their workload is
Right.
all about. And that also has a lot to do with the future as well. But Mr. Dave Line, I guarantee you that we will, when we say we have identified funding,
Right.
it will not be based on grants.
Okay. One
Or
other
we
thing.
can't do it, or the timeline will have to change.
One other thing, we have a historic place here in Hudson, Kansas, where we take care of old buildings. Is the Bernard Restaurant, I go there when I was little, it's an historic place.
I
So-
did call down here.
Yes,
And we've been in the community 120 years.
yes, ma'am.
The building wasn't quite 50 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
So they were hesitant about the guidelines
Yes, ma'am.
for being a historical building. But everyone knows in this town, as small
Mm-hmm.
as it is, who we are, who we were, and who came out there to eat.
Yes, ma'am. That's my,
So,
that's my whole.
I got information from Topeka.
Yeah.
But when you, like Amy was saying earlier, when you redo a historical building, there's just certain guidelines, things
Yes.
that you can and cannot do.
Well, we take
It
care of
can get
other,
expensive.
we take
Yes.
care, we take care of other historic buildings. You're an historic, your family's been here for, I'm not saying you're old now, okay?
Yeah.
The family's been here for years and
Trying
years.
to work.
So we do it on one end, we should do help on the other end too.
Please,
Okay?
please.
So where we at now?
Well, I would move to not approve the demolition of the commercial structure at 2100 South Bone Break Street with the revisit of it on August 17th, 2021. Do you want this in one motion, Linda? It's written that way.
It's up to council.
Okay. I move to not approve the demolition of the residential structure at 2100 South Bone Break Street. Do we plan to revisit that on the 17th as well? I guess it depends on if I get a second.
Say the motion.
So what are we saying again on
Say it
the
again.
17th of August?
That we
Be a
will,
little more specific.
I would say give.
Sure.
Can we give the
Let's be
residential
as
3 month?
specific as possible for
I would like to
planning
give the residential 3 month extension and just visit the commercial in 1 month.
Can we do the motion on the commercial
Yeah,
property?
we can do it first.
And then do the
Mhm.
residential since they're,
Okay, I'm going to move to not approve the demolition of the commercial structure at 2100 South Bone Break Street with the understanding that we will revisit the item on August 17th, 2021, and expect to have a estimate and date for demolition of the south side of the building. Is that sufficient enough?
And an engineering report on how the building on the north side will be shored up.
You
Thank-
understand that?
Yes.
Yep.
Can you fulfill those obligations?
Say that last part
The
again.
only thing,
You're gonna need an engineer's statement on how that north side's gonna be shored up.
okay.
So you may have to get it the day the engineer
May,
visits.
the day before, yeah.
Say what now?
If the engineer is expected to visit on the 16th, he may have to be prepared, or she may have to be prepared to put together some sort of statement to present
Quickly.
to us the next day at the council meeting.
On shoring up that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
to make sure that the demolition of the south side does not implode the north side.
The north side, yeah. I'll second that motion.
okay, Sarah, I think had it first.
Okay.
Okay, Pyrus de Carvalho.
Yes.
Dave White.
Yes.
Soldner.
Yes.
Bagwell.
Yes.
Garza.
You understand what you have to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
In that
And
case-
I'm going to Motion to not approve the demolition of the residential structure at 2100 South Bone Break and give a 3-month extension on review on that property.
On that last motion, I have a yes. Okay.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay.
Honores Carvalho?
Yes.
Dayline?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
No problem. We're here to
We're
work
here in
together
our
with you.
plea.
Yes. All right.
Item 9B, consider water tower number 2 recoding project update.
Good morning. My name is Brian Clean. I'm the Director of Public Works.
We're close to afternoon, but good morning, yes, sir.
It's still morning. Barely.
All right, so this is a location map of the city of Hutchinson, and it shows our 4 water towers in town. So down here is Water Tower 1, which was just recoded last year. Here is the location of Tower 2. Tower 1 is a tower that stores 1 million gallons of water. Tower 2 stores 500,000 gallons of water. Tower 3, which is slated to be coded next year, stores another 500,000 gallons of water. And then Tower 4 is a battery of concrete tanks that stores around 4 million gallons of water. So what we're here to discuss today is Tower 2, which is slated to be recoded this year. This is just a picture of the underside of that tower. And last year we had this tower inspected, and that inspection recommended that the tower be recoded in 1 to 2 years. So that's why it is slated to be done this year. This was approved in the 2021 budget, so this is an approved project. It's in our CIP. So with the exterior coating comes the opportunity to change the look of that tower. And we have 2 options that we've put together for your consideration, and we are looking for some guidance from the City Council on what they would like this tower to look like. So this is option 1, this is option 2, and then the next slide has those 2 options together.
Aesthetically, I like 1.
I like 1 better.
I like 1 better too.
No yellow bulb in the sky. Please, no. Looks like a giant light bulb. No.
You know, actually, I would like to go with David line on this and put a golf ball on that first.
Yeah.
With the little nips in, you know? No.
Oh, goodness. Make it,
Brian,
yeah, it does look
I
like
would
a-
share with you, much to my surprise, there are voices in the neighborhood in and around Tulane that have contacted me regarding the plan to repaint it. I was a little surprised myself. And basically what they're saying is that they feel by painting this in these 2 proposals that it really brings more attention to that area and the neighborhood and the brilliance of the new colors and so on, that they would really prefer to have, if it's going to be repainted, in some more of a neutral color or to match the color that it's there. So I'm just conveying what I've heard from the neighbors. I've driven it. I kind of understand their point. But I was a little surprised of the numerous calls that I have gotten in and around the Tulane streets, which is where the water tower is. It dead ends up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they want it painted white?
Well, it
Didn't
is currently like a
specify,
light blue, and I think the intent is for it to kind of blend into the sky. So it is
Oh.
not as noticeable
Yeah,
as.
that's
Yeah,
they
and that's
didn't
not-
specify, but something a little
It's a
more,
residential area, right? Like, there's not a
neutral
lot of
in
people.
color.
A light green.
So I'm just the messenger
Okay.
conveying
Yeah.
their thoughts as folks who live in and around that water tower.
The color right now is that kind of egg color, what you had in that first, it's that an egg color? No.
It was a light blue
Like that.
color.
Yeah, there's a blue tint to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure it's faded. It was, I didn't mention this, but
Right.
in the memo, it was last recoded in 2002.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
2,
Yeah.
20
I'm-
years.
I was looking at the area too. I was kind of surprised when you brought up the Hutchinson one because I thought this was just going to be normal. Because, can you bring up the map of the 4?
Yeah.
Because really, I mean, I could see towers 1 and 3 maybe having a really cool look, but do we need it with the other ones?
Are the other 2 are both in residential? Well, 4 isn't.
Tower
No,
3
isn't.
is right by our fire station. That's
Yeah,
11th and
More
Halsted.
of an industrial commercial.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I could see those 2 having that kind of look, but Tower 2 really, I say let's just neutral.
Okay.
That would please the neighborhood, I
Okay.
know that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate them reaching out to you
Yeah,
and sharing that.
Yeah, I was too, yeah.
Yeah.
correct. Mhm.
So is Mr. Dingman, is the color right now neutral? Right
It's,
now?
it's a faded, light blue.
Right. And that would be, I guess my intent would be to go back with that similar
Would
color,
it-
which blends into the skyline.
So in other words, basically kind of the color of your shirt.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lighter
So I
than that,
blend
a little
in.
bit lighter.
Yeah.
When you said neutral, Sarah, is that the same color? Is that the blue?
Yeah, I was saying the neutral, any kind of neutral, whether it be a light green or a light blue, you know, like neutrals like earth tone colors,
yeah.
which are typically like your really faded blue, your light browns.
Now, you don't have a neutral up there,
greens.
do you? I mean, it's a white and a yellow, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I do not have what that option would
But
look
that's
like.
what Avenue A was before we painted it. Was
It-
that light?
Yeah.
It
kinda
is.
like
Yeah.
Saturday.
And if
So-
you, and that's what Tower 3 looks like as well. They were all coated around the same time period, and we
Yeah.
used that same color.
And
for all
Tower
3
3 will
of
be
those.
coated next year, right?
Yes.
And we could go with one of these designs
Yes.
for that tower because that's kind of out there.
Definitely not option 2 though.
Okay. We won't bring option 2 back next year.
So
Don't bring option 2 back.
the neutral color, does this say City of Hutch on it? No?
It has nothing on
No,
it
it
right
has
now.
nothing on it.
So will it be a darker blue type, would you suggest?
I say no, just redo it the way it is.
It would
We
be
don't need
a light
anything
color.
fancy like that.
Yeah.
But how about the letters on it, be darker blue?
There'd be no letters.
No letters.
Oh,
No letters.
Yeah.
How do they feel about no letters?
They didn't say, they were more sensitive to the color. Desire more neutral.
Yeah. I'd say just do the light blue again, right?
I don't
Maybe
know.
closer to white, so it kind of resonates with our 3 color schemes that we have on the other ones. But a light blue would match too, because you have your white and your blue and your yellow. Light blue is like between white and blue, you know. Just the where it's located, I'm gonna say go neutral. We don't need to do anything. I would like to see something like this on 1 and 3.
Okay.
I would like to see it with letters. I don't know what you think about
But
neutral
we
is
don't
fine.
need letters. It's just a tower and a
I wouldn't mind
residential
having
area.
the word Hutchinson on it.
Does it have it now?
No.
Well, it's not a gateway,
Yeah.
which is kind of why we
Yeah.
push using the letters down on A, the name of the city. I could go either way.
Man. What you think, Sarah?
I would motion to approve for the tower coating to be neutral color with no lettering, similar to recoding it the way it exists currently.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, that's a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Pyrus de Carvalho,
Yes.
Daylight.
Yes.
Solda.
Yes.
Bagwell.
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Item 9C, consider 2021 staff analysis and organizational review project.
Thank you, Mayor. We have an opportunity to engage a consultant for the organizational review of several departments that were discussed and made part of our strategic work session back in December. And this is follow-up from that. We had 2 people respond to groups, and there was quite a bit of pricing disparity amongst those estimates, but also quite a bit of disparity also in the level of service that would be provided. It's staff's recommendation that we would go with the higher one, and I believe that's reflected in the staff report.
Okay, and will this include, because when they're gonna do the study, I don't want it like to spend $85,000 for a study and it's more or less like where it says, I would like there to at least like have to be options for improvement, I guess. Because I don't want a study to come back and be like, oh, nope, you guys' structure is just fine. Like, I want the consultants to know that we are looking for efficiencies and other options and at least having that presentable to us.
How these typically work
Yeah.
is that they won't tell you what they believe you should do, but instead they return back sometimes a matrix or assumptions that model certain levels of service. And if you desire those certain levels of service, here's your staffing ratio that is probable for the region. Or maybe we're over providing service in some areas, maybe not, but that may become reflective too. Maybe we're putting too many resources into certain responses that we offer, and those need to be shifted. So what it will likely do, and not just with this group, but most of these that you see conducted, they quantify the performance based on a level of service that the community may expect to receive, or that the governing body may wish to deliver. And then you can kind of make up your mind from there. That's normally how they come back.
Because I'd hate to spend $85,000 for just. I want the focus on them really digging in and trying to find efficiencies, and that being the main goal.
And they're aware of that.
Okay, because that's what I'm like that is the main goal. Like, not to tell us what we have and don't have.
And they did, they cautioned us. They said, what if we come back and tell you that some of the stuff you guys are doing, you're doing really well? Be prepared for that. There may be some pieces of what you do as a city that you're knocking out of the park. Be prepared for that. There may be some other areas that need some tweaking. So you're probably going to have a blended report come back that's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think if you read their summary on what's basically page 23, recommendations and roadmaps are key components of what they're going to do. So I think we will get that as a result
I just
of
want
this.
it to be an emphasis that we need to find some savings. I mean, if I look at our budget, we have to, and we need this to be successful. We need to, from the look of our budget, if we don't do anything different, we will have to raise the mill levy if we don't change. So it's imperative that if we're going to spend this $85,000, we're going to get some change out of it, and we're going to need recommendations for change, and that they know that. That's what I'm concerned about.
I think that's pretty well spelled out.
Okay.
How long will this take, Jeff? Did they say a time frame on this?
Yeah, we did discuss that. It'd be a fairly tight time frame. We would like to have this back before the close of fall for sure.
And when will it start?
I'd have to get Tom for that. It had a pretty aggressive start time as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that was part of our questioning when we interviewed them, is we have the resources to follow through with the prompt start date and a fairly quick follow through. There was some concern that during peak season, it's hard to conduct the required interviews because so many people are out of the shop, and so it limits availability to some of those people. But they didn't think that'd be a problem, so.
Is there a reason we didn't target other
We've got very, very
departments?
fine, professional, highly regarded professional department heads in the Public Works Department as well as Parks and Facilities. We are very blessed to have the level of people that run those departments. Hopefully you've had a conversation with them that these department heads will be open and receptive and mindful of why we're doing this, to embrace the process. And I think that's my message, is that they will be open and receptive to the process.
They have been, and they've participated in some of the necessary pro forma that should be considered, because just like us, they want those departments to work at great efficiency. So I've had excellent cooperation and nothing but positive encouragement from the staff. Thank you.
And Jeff, do you intend to look at other departments further down the line, or are we just focusing our efforts on these
We're always
departments?
looking at every department all year long. A lot of things change, technology advances, shifts in types of services that cities provide. If you look at what was popular 5 years ago, it's no longer the standard for today. So we're doing that automatically, even in-house. But as far as engaging a group that's upwards of $100,000 to bring back a recommendation, I'm going to hold that near and dear to my heart for only discussions with you all when you give us specific guidance. Otherwise, we'll probably just report to you what we're doing internally, like some of the major changes we've already done internally, and let you know what some of those benefits have been. Some of those are no-brainers, and some of those are precipitated by the public and letting us know what's important as they let you all know. So that trickles down to us, and we kind of know what direction to go. This one's a little different. This one is really us getting to the sandbox to figure out what level of service do we want to provide, what are we doing well, where are some other areas where we could improve, and do we need to blend and maybe mix more of our resources on the ground in other areas. And I think we'll return that. We don't always get into that big of a discussion. It's normally about we've got too many staff, or what's the maximum authorized staffing level to provide the same service.
No.
That's pretty static.
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you.
Well, Jeff, you did what we asked. You got us a thing in there. I mean, a company to do it. So we asked you to do it, so.
Well, with that, I would move to approve the award of the 2021 Staff Analysis and Organization Review Project of Novak Consulting Group and authorize staff to execute the service contract not to exceed $85,000.
Second.
Iris de Carvalho?
Yes.
Dagler?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza.
Yes.
Item 10, report of city officials.
Okay. Miss Nancy?
Nothing.
Nothing. Miss Dayline?
No, nothing this morning.
Miss Sarah?
No, I don't have. Well, actually, I know there's been some attention with the art canoe thing. Did we get any answers on? Because I know he put out something online about the parking lot, and that's all? And I think the public was confused about what area is ours, and they kind of put it off. Because I believe that those parking areas that they're getting mad about are not our property, correct?
Correct. I did try to do some clarification on that. Oh, sorry, Justin Combs, Director of Parks and Facilities. There was some miscommunication or misinformation on Facebook about who owned what property.
Yeah.
I did try to clarify those with some folks who reached out to me directly. The areas they were talking about is that county right-of-way, that the county is one of the ones who are wanting to close that down once we open the new canoe launch. Yeah.
And what about the one on the other side? That's also county, correct?
It's also county. There's a large sign on that property that says county property, no trespassing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So so the county would be where they would need to direct that. And I also brought up earlier when we were talking about this, I'm just going to try to review from what I can remember, was if we are going to be investing in that launch off area for that portion with the public, that there was debris from a construction materials being dumped in the river, and then you said it was like federal parks and state, and we needed to get a hold of somebody to maybe get that cleaned up. Have you had any discussions on what?
So yeah, let's back up just a little bit. Yeah, so it's about some of the hazards that are along the river between our canoe launch and Cary Park.
Yeah.
I've had several in-depth conversations with Kansas Alliance of Streams and Wetlands, as well as Kansas Wildlife and Parks. And really their recommendation is it's the state's responsibility because it is a national waterway. So it's designated by the National Park Service, and Kansas Wildlife and Parks is the local steward of that. So it's their responsibility to kind of coordinate any cleanup efforts within the high water mark of the river. So the conversations we're having is about developing some sort of coalition. There's one on the Kansas River up in the northeast part of the state, where there's an organized nonprofit group that has partners from all these other government agencies, local, state. I don't know if they have federal partners or not, but really they guide a lot of that. They make recommendations on which areas need to be cleaned up. They find resources for that. They develop cleanup days with partners. So
And what would
I'm
it-
working
yeah.
towards the
Okay.
development of that. That is so much bigger than just the city of Hutchinson, because
Yeah.
really that organization should cover the Ark River from Great Bend to the Oklahoma line.
Yes,
And that's what
but
we're working towards.
for us in our community, we need to have that cleaned up. So what do we need to do as a city to get that done?
Continue to put pressure on the state to identify those and clean those up.
And what needs to be done to get them to identify those? That's what I'm
We
saying,
have,
like-
they're identified. It's just getting
Uh-huh.
the state to come up with the correct process and procedures to get those cleaned up, because it is on federal property under there.
And I know you said that there's some nonprofits doing that work in some other areas. Have we reached out to them to see if they would advocate for our area?
We haven't had a meeting set yet.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We're
Thank
trying
you.
to model, it's called, if you look it up on the internet, Friends of the Call, KAW, that's the organization we're trying to model here with the Ark
Mhm.
River.
Okay.
It's a large organization. They do lots of really great things. We're just starting from scratch here.
Okay.
So we're gonna have our own river keeper.
We would love to have a river keeper.
Okay.
And that's actually a national designation. That's
Yeah.
a whole thing,
Yeah.
having a river keeper. They do have one there. That would be the ideal solution. That's several years down the road
Yeah.
before we get to that point.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Justin.
Anything else, Ms. Sarah?
No.
Ms. Jade?
I do have a few items. I know everyone's tired, but thank you
Okay.
for giving me a little bit of latitude here. So I think, number one, the city needs to engage with the owner of the mall about the parking lot. I continue to get complaints. I took one just the other day. We've taken complaints since mall ownership changed hands in 2014, and I do want to remind, I know that the council remembers that that's under a CID, and so every person who buys anything at the mall is paying additional sales tax, but they're not getting the benefit of the upkeep to the property that's supposed to, that those additional sales taxes are supposed to be diverted into repairs. But I had forgotten, I believe we also approved a TIF, so we froze property taxes on that property, which means, probably our residents are paying more and, to make up for that freeze. And then additional, incremental tax valuation above that frozen number was supposed to be diverted into property improvements. I'm sure they're happening somewhere. They're certainly not happening in the parking lot. And we've been asleep at the wheel on this for, I think, too long. I think we've given a little bit too much grace.
I can actually speak a little bit about that. I spoke with Laura Barb, who is the manager of the mall out there, last week about this. And actually, a lot of the complaints we are getting, they actually fall on the Walmart.
Okay.
It's actually Walmart's responsibility. The mall has done quite a bit of paving work actually recently with a lot of the new additions they've added out there. My understanding, some of the major repair work is actually going to need to fall on probably Walmart, as they own that access road that goes right between them and IHOP, as well as I think almost down to the Home Depot. And so there's going to have to be a partnership with that as well. But I believe I've reached out to the mall and
Who owns Hobby Lobby?
Mhm.
There's interest there. Then the interest near IHOP.
That little bitty area. Yeah.
There's that one interest that's really bad.
Yes.
But if you go a little further into where it's actually the mall parking lot,
Yes.
which would be in front of Hobby Lobby, there's a giant.
That's the one I got the
That's
complaint.
the one I get
okay.
the complaint on the most. And then there's also, I believe, over where Dillard's used to be. Or
Yeah.
There's another one I get a complaint on, but the biggest one's the one in front of Hobby Lobby, which is the mall
Yeah.
parking lot.
And I
In
did.
conjunction
Yeah.
with the IHOP one, which would fall under Walmart.
And I have at least reached out to the mall. They are aware of the concerns. I will reach back out to them again.
Well, I'm wondering
after this
if there's
meeting.
any provision in our CID agreement that we have the ability to pull out of it if they don't fix it. That's what I want to know. Because we've taken complaints for, that's 7 years.
Paul? I think that's.
I'll check it.
Okay.
Okay.
That'd be great. I mean, I would love to have a more collaborative, diplomatic
And the other one I
solution to
get a
this,
big
but-
complaint about is Porter, the one near.
That's a
Arby's.
private,
Yeah.
a private street, and there's
Yeah.
zip,
Right.
zilch,
Private
zero we can do about
There's
that.
zero you could do about private streets like that.
Right.
Even though private property we meddle in all the time.
Right.
Just on parking lots.
Just on parks is the only thing we can't meddle in.
Well,
That's
that's a
private.
private street, it's not the city's.
Private property though, right? Ain't the cities?
It's not a city street, we have no jurisdiction
I think
over
what
it.
Sarah is saying is if you have a property that doesn't meet code
Yeah.
guidelines, we threaten to demolish it, but as evidenced earlier this morning. But
That's still private property, but we have codes for it. So what are our codes for
We
private
have-
property as far as?
We don't have any
roads?
codes
Code
for
for streets.
for streets, for
Huh?
private
Private
drives.
streets, we don't have one. We build our streets to engineering standards.
Yeah.
But we don't build private streets, so we don't have a separate code for that.
I wonder if we could get perhaps our map department at the city to actually provide some illustration of exactly who owns what out there at the mall, because there are multiple developers.
Yeah.
There's the mall itself.
And there's ABLA.
Then there's
Because
Christian
Avalon has part of it.
Mhm.
He has a portion of the Hobby Lobby and that area.
Mhm.
Then you have the outer perimeter there that goes into the Home Depot and so on. Perhaps some map could clarify who owns what. If we're going to review this, and it'd be helpful for me to understand who owns what. So we're pointing the fingers at the right folks.
Yeah.
We concur.
So do you think that's something we can have, I'd like to get back to some of the people who've gotten with me on this mall parking lot, but when do you think we can start having conversations with the owners and have that map? Or, I mean, can that be something done soon? We've sure talked about it for years.
Yeah, I'm still confused on how we can force a property owner to fix a sidewalk, but somehow private streets are private street. Sorry. What's the
Well,
difference?
the answer to that is the sidewalks are in the city right of way.
Okay. And what about, I'm just confused why we can demolish some people's private property, but we can't
Because
enforce.
there's statutory authority to do so from the state of Kansas.
Okay. So if the road was completely just all
Since
tore
it's-
up.
We don't
completely,
regulate
there's
roads
nothing?
on your own property.
Huh?
We don't regulate roads on your own property.
Well, what about, but driveways?
You don't regulate my driveway.
Because I tried
We
to put
regulate
in,
the driveway approach, not the driveway.
well, then how come when my mom wanted to add some gravel to her driveway, she was told in order to add it, she had to use concrete or asphalt. And it wasn't just the right of way, it was all the way up to her house, because what she wanted.
And there's a code for that.
And there,
That's a
because there's a
design
code for that.
standard.
So it's a design, so we have no design standards
We
for
can
private
technically use
roads?
concrete, but you can use poor concrete, and years later it can develop potholes, and there's not a lot we can do about that. But we could actually
Yeah.
regulate concrete or hard surface. That's the difference.
So the surface, but you can't regulate, okay, because I always get those, you guys are always harassing private property owners, but
We
you're
never
never.
harass, we only encourage.
Yeah. I'm quoting a complaint, okay? But yet we can't do anything about some of the potholes, so, all right.
Well, I look forward to a solution on that. And then Mayor, the other thing I had, City Manager and I discussed last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, the possibility of a joint City Council County Commission meeting. wanted to know if there's appetite across the council for that, and if we could get that scheduled, just in an effort to build up relationships, discuss joint projects of interest to both the city and the county, and, just foster collaboration. Thoughts?
What you thinking, Mr. Jeff?
They've put a possible date out of August 3rd at the county building. And, it's probably a good exercise for us to do at least once a year. I think it's appropriate. I think there's a lot of misunderstandings occurring between the two agencies. That's evidenced every time I meet with the county administrator. We find that we're more on the same page every time we meet. I'm happy to say that we did meet several days ago. And I think it'd be time well spent.
Well, I think, yeah, we need to definitely talk about.
Would that be a lunch meeting after their commission meeting, or?
They don't meet that day. We meet that day.
Oh, we meet that day, that's right.
That's a Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other days that'd be available to them, and I think that's just one that the county administrator thought might work.
I say the sooner the better. We've got things to discuss.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean,
that works
if
for me.
we have a short agenda, try to keep our agenda short, then that would work.
So August 3rd, right?
I'll communicate that with the county administrator, let them know that everybody's amenable to that date.
Great.
And that's the 3rd after this meeting?
Yeah, the August 3rd, gonna strike that. I've got the wrong date, guys. That's gonna be for,
27.
yeah, 27th.
Oh, the 27th? Okay.
Oh,
27th
of July.
July.
That'd be next week, huh?
Sorry, that's a different date I have to talk to you about. Yeah.
So July 27th, they want a joint session.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Okay.
Okay,
works.
that
I will
would,
communicate that.
yeah, that'd work.
Yeah, that works for me too.
So that'd be a week from today, time to be determined, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that works.
Anything else, Ms. Jade?
Well, I mean, should we wait until that time to get an update on the range situation? Or is that something we should get an update on today?
My fear is the more public discussion that occurs on this without people actually having the agreements in front of them, there's just become such confusion and misconception over what the needs of both agencies are that I always hate to talk about it publicly.
Okay.
And I know that when we're in this joint work session, it will be a public engagement, so let's save it for that time. We'll put all the facts on the table, and, it may make a lot more sense to people when we do that. It probably will.
That would be great. Could we have a side-by-side of the latest revisions of the contract from the city and the county?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That would be great.
current copies would be good.
Okay.
And there's other issues to discuss with them as well, I'm sure, so.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Okay. Thank you
Anything
so
else?
much. No, I think that's it.
Okay, for me, I was, as you well know, Jeff, we get a lot of calls on this county and city thing. So you said what we need to say. We're gonna meet, just so the citizens know that, we know the situation and we're working on it. So other than that, I really don't have anything. Jeff, I'll give it to you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, appreciate that, guys. The August 3rd date that I was throwing out, that actually pertains to the Aquatics Master Plan Stakeholders Meeting. Nancy has already volunteered.
Yeah.
The consultant was looking for one more participant, so if you are interested in that, it's August 3rd at 2 o'clock. It occurs at Hutch Rec. We discussed the mall parking lot issues. Thank you for that. I'm also very happy to share with you all what you all probably already know, and that's that Hutch Fire is fully accredited at this point. We did receive that yesterday.
Fantastic.
Those guys have worked hard for far longer than I've been here, and it shows. There's a lot of professionalism occurring in that department. So congratulations to that entire group. And with that, I'll rest.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
I could probably do that with you, Nancy.
Okay.
Is that that's at Hutch Rec at 2
Yeah,
o'clock?
2 o'clock.
On the 3rd. Okay,
Mhm.
I'll plan on being there. I had not planned
Okay.
on doing that, but it's. I will
Thank you,
do that.
Judy.
Yep, that's me. Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything that we plan to do as a city to honor or recognize the fire department for that designation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know there's a series of events that are occurring internally, that started even yesterday.
Okay,
So,
well, I'm sure, I mean, if they've got it covered.
let me, discuss that with the chief and see what might be appropriate there.
Okay.
Great question. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, about how long do we think we're gonna need, Tom?
Oh, do we have executive session?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
You're not done yet.
I just had my
What'd you
husband
say?
drop my daughter off at Rebecca's
30?
office. I'm like,
12:30.
Rebecca's
12:35.
Okay.
Requesting 30 minutes.
okay, I move to recess into executive session pursuant to the employer-employee negotiations exceptions KSA 75-4319B3 in order to discuss issues related to 2022 contract negotiations with the city's bargaining units. The open meeting to resume in the city council chambers at 12:35 p.m.
Second.
Pires-Caparella?
Yes.
Gayla?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes.
Yeah, our childcare provider was out.